The Greer's Ferry Lake Card Show is coming to Fairfield Bay, and you don't want to miss it. Come ready to buy, sell, and trade sports cards, Pokemon cards, sports memorabilia, vintage cards, modern stars, collectibles, and more. There's something for every collector. And a huge thanks to our title sponsor, Stan's Sports Cards of Greenbrier. Admission is just $5, and kids 12 and under get in free. It all happens Saturday, October 17th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Fairfield Bay Conference Center. Collectors, bring the family, bring your cards, and come make some deals. Don't miss the Greer's Ferry Lake Card Show. The Greer's Ferry Lake Card Show is coming.
Discover Little Red at Indian Hills, where good food, great views, and Arkansas hospitality come together in Fairfield Bay. Enjoy lunch or dinner with comfortable indoor seating, a relaxing outdoor patio, and barbecue available Thursday through Saturday. From golfers fresh off the course to locals and visitors alike, Little Red is the place to gather, eat well, and unwind. Little Red at Indian Hills. Good food, great views, and a Fairfield Bay favorite.
Looking for farm fresh beef for your family? Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company has you covered. Choose from a whole, half, or quarter beef, or purchase individual packaged cuts. Our cattle are locally raised, and your beef is processed at a trusted local facility for quality you can taste. Best of all, your order is picked up and hand-delivered locally right to your door by Eddie Whitehurst. Call Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company today and put farm-raised beef on your family's table.
Ready for your next beach getaway? Discover the perfect vacation with Willock Condo Rentals. Enjoy beautiful beachfront condos in Navarre Beach and Panama City Beach, Florida. When you book directly with the owner, you'll pay no service fees, saving more money for fun in the sun. For over 15 years, Willock Condo Rentals has helped families create unforgettable beach memories with comfortable accommodations and breathtaking Gulf views. Start planning your next vacation today. Contact Willock Condo Rentals and experience the beach the way it was meant to be. Hungry? We've got you covered. Welcome to Bentley's Restaurant, Greer's Ferry's largest restaurant. Join us for breakfast and lunch every Tuesday and Wednesday, then come back Thursday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From homemade omelets and our Saturday breakfast buffet to fresh salads, daily lunch specials, and hand-cut ribeyes cut as big as you want them, there's something for everyone. Friday and Saturday nights are legendary with our seafood buffet featuring jumbo peel and eat shrimp, catfish, crawfish, and all your favorites. Plus, don't miss our delicious prime rib on Saturday nights and our crab leg dinner every Friday and Saturday. Whether you're joining us for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you'll always find great food, generous portions, and friendly service. Bentley's Restaurant in Greer's Ferry. Come hungry, bring your friends, and make every meal one to remember.
Are you a sports card collector? Then make your next stop Stan's Sports Cards in Greenbrier. Whether you're chasing vintage legends or today's hottest rookies, Stan's Sports Cards has something for every sports fan. Browse an incredible selection of sports cards, jerseys, memorabilia, and collectibles from your favorite teams and players. Looking to sell? Stan's Sports Cards is actively buying vintage and modern sports cards. Turn those cards sitting in a box into cash today. Visit Stan's Sports Cards at 26 South Broadview, Highway 65, in Greenbrier, open Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
It's time for Lake Area Takes. Join longtime Lake Area sports broadcasters John Verser and Austin Gray as they dive into the biggest stories, hottest debates, and boldest opinions in sports. John and Austin bring their experience, insight, and plenty of takes. Lake Area Takes is proudly sponsored by Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company, Bentley's Restaurant, Willock Condo Rentals, Little Red Restaurant, and Stan's Sports Cards. Lake Area Takes with John Verser and Austin Gray, where local voices deliver big-time sports talk.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Lake Area Takes here on Lake Area Sports. August 20th, episode number 9. We have almost hit double digits. Thank you guys for taking your time once again to tune in. John Verser and I'm Austin Gray, and we are knee-deep into football season. And even though it is a fact that it does not feel like football weather one bit at all.
Likes just a little bit feel like football.
Maybe a little bit.
But the gridiron is only a week away.
Only a week of us, our countdown.
We are down, and I did not discover this. I'm not greatly familiar with FCS schedules, but did you know? Week 0 for FCS, there are several games 1 week from today, including UCA at Tennessee Martin. So several games you could watch. There's a handful of them on television. So 1 week from tonight, you can kick back, turn on ESPN Plus or Flow TV or whoever, and watch some college football live and in person. There's games Friday as well before the actual week 0 kicks off on Saturday overseas in Ireland. So
7 days. Now, that does not mean that 1 week from today we want you all to tune in to ESPN Plus and not Lake Area Takes, obviously. So either have us on simultaneously or check us out when the games are over. So it's a good thing we're getting this done this week. So we are going to go into all things high school football next week, especially with our Lake Area schools. But we're going to have our little college football breakdown. You're going to hear a little bit of everything today. We're going to talk about our in-state teams, obviously, right here to lead off the show. And then we're going to kind of get into some stuff nationally, talk about the conferences and who we think's got some potential this year, who maybe is a little bit overhyped, make a couple bold predictions at the end of the show, and then, of course, talk about who we think's going to win it all this year, and see if, you and I seem like we agree on a lot of stuff college football until last week when we had the rivalry discussions. But other than that, we're
and someone disparaged the Iowa coach.
and you
Punting is winning.
Punting is winning. I noticed the shirt, and you shunned a couple cities in the process too. But it's
Sorry, everyone. No, I'm not sorry.
sorry, not sorry.
Austin, Memphis.
Austin, Memphis, and Athens. Austin, Memphis, and Athens. So,
You're all snobs.
I'm assuming you're gonna be at Memphis for game 1.
That is certainly the plan.
And so you may be not exactly given the key to the city when you arrive, but not that you're gonna be looking for it, I guess. But
If you get out of, I won't disparage Memphis again 2 weeks in a row. Other to say, you're gonna lose.
there you go. There you go. Well, I'll just keep it here while we're talking about Memphis, and we'll start again. Arkansas and A-State. We're going to kind of talk about them at the top of the show. We're obviously we're surprising to a lot of people. I don't quite have as much A-State knowledge as John does, so I'm going to defer a lot of that to him. And but I'm going to talk. We'll start a little bit here with the Razorbacks this year. And I say, speaking of Memphis, because obviously this is year 1 for Ryan Silverfield, the new head coach, coming over from Memphis, very successful, 50 wins at the program, a win over Arkansas last year, come from behind at home in the same stadium you'll be at in week 1. And, we talked a lot about whether or not we liked the hire. I remember you asking me about a month ago what I thought. All these guys that left the American Conference and took all these jobs, you got Golish at Auburn, and Morris went to Oklahoma State, and there was a fourth one slipping my mind off the top of my head, but Summerall went to Florida.
And not Oklahoma State. That was North Texas coach.
Yeah, Morris went to North Texas, right? Went to Oklahoma State from North Texas.
Yeah.
And then Golish at Auburn and Summerall at Florida. And then
somebody else.
I think it was just those 4 that I can think of off the top of my head. And then you have Silverfield at Memphis. And a lot of people seem to put the Silverfield hire near the bottom. But I always loved it when people would show the graphics, we put those 4 coaches against each other, and Silverfield was the most successful of the 4 against the other 4 coaches, and seemed like the other 3 may have been more sought after than Silverfield. And even with here in Arkansas, the rumors were going around about Golish, and Morris was pretty strong. I don't think Summerall was ever really a thought coming over here from Tulane, but I think he was always kind of the number 2 for Florida if they couldn't get Kiffin. But we heard a lot of Golish and a lot of Morris, and so a lot of people kind of looked at the Silverfield hire as a settling. I disagree. I think that, he's as we talked about, he proved his success at winning, and I mean, he knows how to run an offense, and I mean, offense has not been the problem in Fayetteville for a while. However, I think that, him bringing over Tim Cramsey, who, ran that offense with him at Memphis so well, was a huge get. I think that was, if I had to guess, and if I was Silverfield, that would have been my first phone call was, you coming with me, we're going to do this together. I like Ron Roberts' hire, the defensive coach. Defense is where a lot of the work needs to be done. And, I think if, a lot of times coordinators like to hop around year after year, and that's fine. But, you have a guy in here who's had multiple Power 4 conference jobs and SEC jobs as well. And so I think that's a good morale boost right off the bat before you ever see them hit the field, to know that we have a guy with some SEC coordinating experience running the defense. If there was anything good from last year for the Razorbacks, I would say, obviously offense was not an issue. I think going into the final game of the year, they showed on TV we were 2-9, but we had still outscored our opponents with a 2-9 record. So you take your first 2 wins of the year, which were humongous blowouts against an FCS school, against A-State, and then we had so many one-possession losses that they put total points scored against total points allowed going into our final game of the year, and Arkansas had outscored their opponents total. And for a 2-9 team, is just the most insane stat I'd ever seen in my life. But they were in games, though.
They were in games.
And that was a good takeaway, was that, even though they're 2-9, a lot of these were just, with the exception of Notre Dame and, another one probably, there was mostly pretty tightly contested.
Yeah.
And it made it look like there was some probable hope there. And I think a lot of people, because of that, wanted Bobby Petrino to stick around. They liked what he did. They thought, he was a big reason why we were kind of back in games again. But did you ever think that would work? Did you ever think that that would have been a legit possibility?
I don't know that anyone other than Bobby Petrino thought that was a legit possibility. I know it's been a while since all of that went down, his exit the first time around.
Yeah.
He's been here, he's been there. He's rehabilitated himself. But what happened the second time at Louisville, how that ended would give me pause. I mean, he runs a great offense. Everywhere he goes, the offense will be good. He's got to put up some points. But the problems at Arkansas, how that ended, the problems with how he was ushered out at Louisville, it's hard to see him getting another head coaching opportunity at the Power 4 level. So I did not think that was a legitimate possibility.
And I think that he's, he gets to go have a special little project to try to fix that North Carolina offense this year. So I'm with you. I never wanted to see him. I mean, I didn't have anything against him. I thought he did a good job filling in the role for the rest of the year. But you're right. That kind of was a good, swan song for him to go out and kind of end his Arkansas tenure of his life with a positive note, when for years it just looked like it was just going to be bad. He got to go back and rewrite the last chapter of Arkansas and end, even though there was no wins that came with it. He got morale kind of back up a little bit and showed that we could play with teams that we probably shouldn't have played with after Pittman got fired. So,
and even had they won some games, I don't think there was if he'd have ran the table, that's another story. I don't think they would have had a choice.
I think a lot of people thought bowl game, maybe if he can somehow pull off 6 wins out of 10, he might decide to throw. I still have a few people, I know a couple that I work with that were, to this day, still think we should have probably just kept Bobby. I mean, but I like the young, when you've had not a 60-something-year-old coach going from one to another, I like bringing in some younger blood. I think that was the whole point of those 4 guys leaving the American Conference, is now all these teams are getting some fresh coaching and fresh perspectives. And so I think Silverfield was the right call. Arkansas was the second leading team in rushing last year in the SEC, which for a team that went 2-10 is a great stat to have. And you're returning the bulk of your offensive line again, and Braylon Russell, who, if he can stay healthy, he can run for 1,000 yards. So I like that aspect of the offense. KJ Jackson showed some good promise last year, and when Silverfield brought AJ Hill over with him as a redshirt freshman, and so I think that Arkansas is in another position where they seem to be every year, where there's a guy who's going to start, and then if he starts to struggle, there's going to be everybody looking over on the sideline going, maybe let's give this guy a shot. And so I think if Jackson comes out in the Utah game or the Georgia game or something like that and struggles, I think the fans may want to see Hill, or this first game of the year, if it ends up being a blowout as it could be put him in there late, see how he does. Obviously, the biggest flaw last year, Arkansas had the worst defense in the SEC, but they did get 4 different 4-stars in out of the portal. They got from big schools, one from Virginia, one from Oregon, one from USC, and one from Ohio State. So pulling in a couple of big 4-stars on defense shows some promise, but the problem when you're in the SEC is your defense can't show promise. Your defense has to be good, and it has to probably be great if you want to have any kind of success and pull off some wins. So John and I did what we did for these 2 in-state teams, the 2 biggest teams that we talk about a lot. We kind of pulled off a best-case scenario and a worst-case scenario for this year. There's always a window when you talk about how things can go, and everybody likes to just give a guess on the record, but we're just going to kind of give a window of a worst case up to a best case, and assuming that we're, the teams will fall somewhere in there. Hogs have been predicted to finish last in most SEC polls. I don't agree with that. We did our predictions a few weeks ago. I think that it's more of the 12-13 area instead of 16 at the bottom. However, I think for sure worst case scenario for the Hogs is they repeat last year, and it's 2-10 again. You win your FCS game, you beat Tulsa, and then you get the table ran on the rest of the way. I don't want to say this is super. I wish I could say this is worst case scenario, but not likely. But statistically, number 1 hardest schedule in the country this year is Arkansas, and it's just a tough part of competing in the SEC. And now you got to go out to Provo as well, or not Provo. You got to go out to Salt Lake and play Utah, and come back home right away and play Georgia. And the SEC just is not easy. Maybe the easiest SEC game right now on paper is home against South Carolina, and that's not even depending on how they are by early November, that may not be easy. Boy, I hope this doesn't happen. I really hope this doesn't happen. But the sad part is when you look at the schedule and how tough it is,
it's not easy.
It's not easy. And if everything goes wrong, I guess if everything goes wrong, you have 0 wins. But if everything probably realistically could go wrong like last year in these tight games, and if Arkansas can't find a way to actually pull the win out, we could look at a second straight 2-10 year. But I'm not one of those guys who's going to flip the numbers and be like, but on the best case scenario, we could just shock everybody. If I'm being realistic, best case scenario, I think they can win 7 games. I went through their schedule. I only have them winning 4. That's not very optimistic of me, but I try to be more realistic than most people, I guess, when they're analyzing. But in a tough conference schedule, winning, I think if they can win 3 conference games this year, that's going to be good for Silverfield's first year. Best case scenario, he can somehow pull off 4 of the 5. You get South Carolina at home. If Missouri ends up not being worth the hype, you play them on Halloween night. Spooky stuff in the air. Crazy things can happen.
And that's after a bye week.
That's after a bye week. You get Missouri after a bye week. Who the heck knows? I have people who think LSU's going to be in the national championship. I have people who say they'll be unranked by the 1st of November. I don't think anybody knows how that experiment's going to go this year, first year. LSU's back to last week of the year. That was always a game where it does not matter what your records were. May the best team win. It's back in Fayetteville. You've got to go to Vandy. That's if Vandy is as good as they were last year, that's not going to be a win. But if they've slacked off a little bit, then then there's a possibility there. Tennessee is back at home again. A lot of people don't like Tennessee this year. You never know. If they can squeak out 4 and then win all 3 of their non-conference games, and yes, that does mean going to Utah and winning. We'll talk about them in a little bit. If they can make a bowl game, I would have just put 6-6, but you know what? I took it an extra step. If they can win 7, if they can make a bowl, we'll go 6-6. That's fine. But you know what? I think if they have the best season they possibly can, which was what the purpose of this was, I think they can pull off 7. I'm sitting about 4, maybe 5, just missing a bowl game. But if we're sitting here in 3 months talking about Arkansas punching a ticket to a bowl game, I'll be tickled to death. So.
Yeah, I think new head coach under these circumstances, only winning 2 games last year, you can go to a bowl game in year 1. That is a great first season and something that if you're an Arkansas fan, hopefully Silverfield could build off of. And with him, I know a lot of it right now seems to be about fundraising, and that's where roster management or whatever you want to call it is at. So you can show some success, show some promise. Maybe you can raise some funds and hopefully sustain what you're building, because otherwise, it's just not in this world of college football going to last unless you could build the fundraising mechanism to sustain the roster.
Well, and one of the things with college football these days too is rosters are going to change year to year. There is going to be no building for 3 years. Teams are going to flip flop. Some teams may be pretty consistent level, but there's going to be teams every year that's going to flip from 10 wins to 4, and some flip from 4 to 9 or 10, just because of the way college football is these days. So if Silverfield can run a fun program and get some these high schoolers and portal guys to buy in, maybe they could build to something good in the future. I think when you asked me that, I said long term, I think this will work out good. Nothing's going to happen overnight in year one, but if he can get people to buy into the culture and buy into, a new young coach, hey, winning is fun in Fayetteville, maybe so. We'll see. So I'm hoping for the upper end of this.
Yeah, to me, the schedule is just
schedule's brutal.
Schedule's brutal. You got to go to A&M. I mean, you face Georgia right after you go to Utah. And I know that Georgia game is home, but I don't care where you play Georgia.
Now Georgia's
they
at
are
home.
a legitimate national title contender.
Yurchek filed a complaint because the game at Utah is prime time.
He's been silly.
Yeah, well, and I agree, but he's they're playing that game West Coast probably like 9:00 of our time, and then he's complaining because the Georgia game's 11 a.m. the next week. But in my head, I'm like, bro, it's 7 days later.
Yeah.
He's like, they're going to be flying home that night, landing in the wee hours of the morning on Sunday. It's like, okay, take Sunday off, get rested up, get your pads on, get back to work Monday.
I mean, at this point, what we're doing here, especially at the high levels, is professional football. Get with it, folks.
Get with it. At least you're not going overseas.
Yeah.
So, you're right. Georgia's at home. One game I did forget is it's kind of been a toss-up the last several years because it seems like the teams can go either way is Auburn, and it really doesn't matter where that game is. By the time Arkansas plays Auburn, it'll be early November. Who knows what Silverfield's done? Who knows what Golish has done? That game's at Auburn, but Arkansas has wanted Auburn in the past 10 years. So, that could be another one they could steal. So, I don't know. You're right. They're probably not going to win against Georgia. Probably not going to go to A&M and win, and they're probably not going to go to Texas and win. But if they can squeak out 3, I'm happy with 3, and I think they could have a good year.
I think the ones you got to look at is the home games against Tennessee. You don't know what they're going to do after having what they thought was a down year last year. You go into Vanderbilt, who knows what they're going to be this year after being the best stretch that they've had in their program's history, basically. I seem to think they'll be level, but what is that level? I don't think they'll be knocking on the door of the playoff as they have did last year. But nothing against Clark Lee, but any staff with Jerry Kill on it and him in a leadership role, I think is going to be phenomenally long term. So I expect Vanderbilt not to go back to their 4-8 ways of the longest time that anyone can remember. But you got Missouri at home, and Drinkwitz is he's an interesting cat.
He's an interesting dude. No.
And they always seem to punch just a little bit above their level. So, but yeah, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough, but I'm optimistic, and I think that's just part of, honestly, just all falls on the fact that it's Silverfield. It's a new coach, and I think everyone's going to have cautious optimism. I hope everybody has cautious optimism. I don't like those who are just automatically negative and pessimistic. So if you are, keep that to yourself, I guess, and we'll see what happens. So let's jump across state from corner to corner. Go up to here at the neck of the woods up in Jonesboro. Butch is back again. Y'all have got a couple good key players coming back too. What's A-State got? What's A-State looking like this year?
There are some question marks, and for A-State, that starts at quarterback. Jalen Rayner, who had started basically all of the last 3 seasons, transferred to Iowa State in the offseason. He went there with Keith Eckendorf, who was the A-State offensive coordinator, now the quarterback's coach at Iowa State. So someone else will be calling the signals for the offense. Is that going to be Trey Owens, the Texas transfer? You've got a couple of transfers from Vanderbilt, one from Oklahoma State. And then you got Ethan Crawford, who did not play at quarterback really last season, but has been on the roster for a minute. He was there after transferring from Southern Miss. He did start some games there in 2024. His passing has not been the greatest, so you've got to wonder how that's going to work out. But if he's been able to improve it as a passer over the last year or so, then maybe Ethan Crawford gets a chance to start because he is phenomenal running the football. So that's the key areas that you got to look for A-State. The new offensive coordinator, Garrett Altmaier, comes over. He was the quarterback's coach at Vanderbilt. And so we're going to see how what he did there and in New Mexico State with Jerry Kill, how that kind of meshes with what A-State's done over the last few years under Heckendorf. I hope that means more consistency offensively, because honestly, that is where A-State struggled the most, is could not run the ball well, and just the offense would look great. And in the fourth quarter, the offense would look great. And when it went to hurry up, the offense was great. You know, if you put the ball in Jalen Rayner's hands with 2 minutes to go, I've trusted him every dang time because he did it so often. And there were so many close games last year. ASU could have easily won 9 games. I mean, just silly, stupid things that happened. And that brings us to some of the biggest question marks is the play of the defense. Basically, the entire defensive line is lost other than one end who has now moved inside. Had some great defensive line plays a season long last year. So that's got to be a big concern. Only 2 starters back on defense, both of those in the back 7. So we'll see what happens there. But they are 2 good ones. And A.G. McGee and Brandon Barnes, who played phenomenally in the back 7 last year. Going back to the offense, other than that quarterback, and Devin Spencer recently is going to be out for the entire season. So he's out. Had a non-contact knee injury just before the season. Early in camp, so he is the leading, should have been the leading returning rusher, so he is out. But we've also got Kenyon Clay, who was one of the big backs last season. Both of them had about 500 yards rushing, a little over than that. So all is not lost. ASU did recently gain a junior college transfer from Tyler, who has shown promise early in camp. So hopefully the 2 of those or someone else can step up and develop a 1-2 punch. Big loss is Corey Rucker, and goodness, just hate to talk about an A-State team without Corey Rucker. He's one of 24 players in FBS history who has more than 4,000 receiving yards, and he is gone. And unfortunately for him, he signed with the Raiders as an undrafted free agent, but suffered an injury and is on the IR list. So hopefully he straightens that out. But Chauncey Cobb, I mean, for people who watched the game against Arkansas last year, he had that big return, kind of spurred ASU back. He returned 2 last year, 4 touchdowns, also had more than 70 receptions. So he is a huge weapon for a little guy. I mean, the guy is not tall, but is fast as lightning. ASU also returns 4 of 5 on the offensive line. So you got it. If the quarterback situation can be figured out, and somewhat the running back situation with Spencer gone, then I think you got to like your chances, and hopefully the offense will be offensive this year. The defense, it's going to take some work just because you lost so many guys. But they got a lot of transfers in from the Division I level, especially in the backfield. Got some guys on the defensive line. So we'll see how fast they gel. The defense did not look good at all early last season. But this is year 2 in that system. And hopefully some of those kinks have been worked out. And it's much smoother. And we'll just kind of see how that goes. Special teams. Anytime Clune Van Andel goes back to kick, he's Mr. Automatic.
You got a sure thing in special teams, at least for sure. So
yeah, Clune Van Andel, I'm very surprised that he did not transfer somewhere just because he has been Mr. Automatic basically. Under Butch Jones, say what you want elsewhere, but the special teams has been phenomenal. Both the kicker, punter, coverage, everything has just been spectacular. So
if your kicker makes the graphic, then
yeah,
he's pretty darn good.
Clune Van Andel. So yeah. Hopefully he will have another spectacular season. This will be his 3rd as the starting kicker.
Yep.
I also got Clayton Amaya, who has basically been the kickoff specialist for the last 2 years. We'll have to replace a punter. We'll see how that turns out. But for whatever reason, ASU has always, under Butch Jones, had a surplus of punters. You know, we had a guy just a couple of years ago who was a starter And we had another guy come in. He got the starting role, transferred to James Madison, and Ryan Hansen started 2 years there. So if you can transfer to a school like that, I mean, the special teams has done well under Butch Jones. So there's a lot of question marks. But realistically, ASU could have won 9 games last season. You know, there was the game against Southern Miss where you turn it over 6 times and still have a chance to win it on the last drive. Mm-hmm. The stupid game at Kennesaw where you spot them 21 points and still have 2 opportunities in the fourth quarter to tie the game. The silly game against Lafayette where you have a defensive and a special teams touchdown and still lose in the club. I mean, I can get on and on, but, you know, ASU was primed to have a big season last year, just couldn't get it all together at the same time. Ended the season well, got a bowl win against Missouri State down in Dallas. So what's it going to be like this year? I think if we go to the worst case scenario, as we kind of talked about, 4 wins. You know, I just, if the offense doesn't punch offensively, if the defense can't stop anybody and people run all over the defense, if no one steps up to be that second running back, or after you're missing a guy like Corey Rucker with all those receiving yards, all the records in the Sun Belts, you know, it just, a lot of things can happen, you know, if there's injuries. I think 4 wins is kind of the floor, hopefully.
And what are your 4 automatics that you feel are pretty much locks?
West Georgia, Monroe, Georgia State,
South Alabama.
At
home, all at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are my 4.
Feel very confident.
I feel very confident about Kennesaw State too, but then we saw what happened in last year's game. And it's still early in the season when you're trying to figure things out, but at home, I think ASU wins that game. Who knows? So yeah, those are the worst case scenarios. The best case, I think ASU could challenge, if not win the West. 9-3 with losses to TCU and Memphis. You lose 1 in conference, maybe.
Which conference game is the toughest for you this year?
I'm going to say Louisiana. That's
a road game.
That is a road game. It's the first conference game of the season. It could still be hot down in Lafayette. I mean, they still talk about some crazy hot games early in the season down in Lafayette. So I think that is if ASU beats Lafayette, ASU could run the table because you have South Alabama on Thursday at home. You go to Southern Miss under a first-year coach in Blake Anderson, who has a lot of familiarity with the Sun Belt, being former ASU head coach and was offensive coordinator at USM last year. They had a ton of people go north with Coach Huff to Memphis, so a lot of turnover there. You go to Georgia State, they have just not been good under this new head coach. Louisiana, Monroe. ASU has not lost to Monroe at home since I was in college. Just going to call that one there.
Take a guess how you will.
Yeah, I mean, granted, ASU had beaten them 15 years in a row last year, until last year.
Right.
So it could happen, but I'm just going to call that one in the bank. You got a Coastal underneath a first-year head coach in Ryan Beard going over from Missouri State. Tech is new to the conference. I don't think that Conference USA is as good as the Sun Belt. And you end with the
Troy is sleep. I've heard people say not to sleep on Troy this year. That could be a good season.
Troy is being, and back in the olden Sun Belt days when the Sun Belt was a pretty new football conference, a lot of the times ASU and Troy ended the season against each other, and a lot of the times it came down to those two teams.
Even in my childhood, that was always the last game of the year.
So I am thrilled that Troy is the last game of the season. There for a while, the Sun Belt had this thing where we would play an Eastern Division team to end the season, which just felt weird, whether it was Old Dominion at home 2 years ago, last year at App State. It's just a weird dynamic. So I'm glad to see not only a West team back on the season ender at home, but it be Troy, because there's been a lot of knockout, drag-out battles going back to when Larry Blakeney was the coach at Troy for a long time. and then Neil Brown after that, and some good, really good ball games between those two teams. So, if ASU can beat Louisiana and you go into the end of the season against Troy needing to win, I like the chances. But again, on the defense there, everything has to go right, and I just don't know that things will gel as quickly as you would need them to put that kind of special season together.
I think I agree about the question mark at quarterback, but I like the running game, and again, if you get on opposing territory, worst case scenario, you get some points because of the automatic foot. And I mean, if the defense has improved, and if it does work, you got a shot to go win at Memphis.
Oh, I think so too.
And so I think that if you can, even if you drop the Memphis game, beat West Georgia, and then drop the TCU game, now you're 1-2. But you're right, you can win that Louisiana game. You could have smooth sailing, but I don't see any reason why a 2-0 start is unrealistic. And if you go beat Memphis, it's going to be hard. I mean, Huff is a good coach, and
And Memphis will not play the games. They play a week 0 game at UNLV.
At which, say what you want to, Memphis goes out to Vegas and wins that game. That's huge for Memphis. UNLV's no team to sleep on with Dan Mullen. So Memphis game could be very realistic, and I think y'all got a solid chance to start 2-0. In the Louisiana game, and that is tough on the road. But you're right, you kind of get a pretty weak slate of teams right in the middle of the season, which is, not something we could talk about with Arkansas officials, but you get kind of the lower tier of the Sun Belt, kind of 4 out of 5 weeks there, and then some of these schools with new coaches, who knows? It's so early in the those games are so late in the year that who the heck knows? I mean, Beard is at Coastal, but they're 7-5 first year FBS bowl game. He may go to Coastal and rattle off. They may be playing for.
You just never know.
Yeah, they may be playing for bowl eligibility in that game if they stay. Like, who knows? But
as far as the Eastern Division school, draw any two teams out of the hat. If you give me Georgia State at home, I'm taking that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
They've just not worked well under the new coach the last couple of seasons, and then a new coach at Coastal, I'll take that too.
I like it. I think you're up. I think the best case is very plausible. I mean, and right, playing for a conference championship is definitely realistic. I'm excited. I don't know why, but yeah, I guess just because we was talking about always the Troy games always being last, I'm excited to see them play at the end of the year. And if you guys run the table after Louisiana, and if Troy has a sleepily good year, like a lot of people think they could, that game not only could be, big for postseason, but that could just be a couple of 8-win schools going at it to end the year in the Sun Belt, which those games are always exciting, especially coming out of the Sun Belt. So sticking with the rest of the state, and again, we won't quite hone in on these as hard as we did the big two schools we just covered. UCA has not quite been itself for what we're used to seeing the last couple of years. Last year, 3-9 record, only 2 conference wins. That's the worst season for UCA since 1972, which was definitely before both of us. So in our lifetimes, this is the worst UCA football team we have ever seen. And, new conference, what do you think? Does it help? Does it hurt? How's it? What's the new conference feeling like for you? How do you think that's going to affect them?
And I don't know, and I guess I misspoke when I said new conference. It's a reimagined conference.
Yeah, it's pretty much new. I mean, it's just
out is they don't have to go to Southern Utah anymore.
Right.
Schools like that. But you've got some schools in great locations like West Florida and West Georgia coming in. It's like, West Florida opened the doors basically to football and won a Division II national championship. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be legit.
Yep.
West Georgia is in a great location for recruiting. They have not had football very long. Eastern Kentucky has been a power at different times for a while.
Tarleton State.
Tarleton State had a great playoff run last year. They were fun to watch.
FCS best 42 points per game last year.
Yeah.
Tarleton State. And they took a D1. They took an FBS team who was it? They took one FBS school right down to the wire. I'm pretty sure they may have beat them in the past couple of years. Maybe they didn't. I'm pretty because they did. They took somebody to the wire.
It'll be like, yeah, Charlton went 12-2 last year. They won at Army in
One at
double
Army.
overtime.
That is correct. Yes,
The second week of the season.
One. I would say that name last year. So they did something in FBS. They won at Army. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, Charlton's only losses last year were at Abilene Christian by 3 points, and then in the playoffs to Villanova, ranked 12th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I don't know if it's second or third round, but it was their second game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it does not get easier for UCA.
No, and Austin Peay is another team in there, and I talk about them because they've probably got the best quarterback in that conference, and I don't care how good your team. You know, if you have the best quarterback in your conference, you're going to finish in the top half of the conference. So it's not easy for them, and especially coming off a 3-9 year.
No, I mean, and then too, you look at the non-conference. I granted don't know much about UT Martin. They've had their ups and downs. They've been better lately, but you go to Southeast Missouri State. They've been in the playoffs lately. They've been pretty good within the last 3 years. So you do that. I mean, your only what I would call a gimme game is the Division II game against Central Oklahoma, which is the equivalence of FBS playing FCS.
Right.
And you got to go to Florida State. And I don't care that Mike Norvell is an alum of UCA. He's not going to, with the trouble that he is in, if he's still around in September, he's not going to take it easy on him.
No. And you're more cultured than me in some of these small schools. Who the heck is UTRGV?
Texas Rio Grande Valley is a new program. It is not to get too much into weeds for people who don't care about this. It's hard unless it's your school to care, but they are a new school. It used to be Texas Pan American, and they combined schools down there, a couple of them, and just recently started a football program. Chase Conk, I might have just butchered his name, the former UALR athletic director, is the athletic director at UTRGV, and went there when he started the program. And he's the son of the former UCA coach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. I read that acronym and I could not for the life of me figure it out.
Yeah, they are near nowhere. I mean, basically towards Brownsville on the Mexican border. They've built up a nice little following. There was a couple of articles about them last year. But they are very new to football.
If they can go out and you said Tennessee, obviously not going to be easy. And again, this is what John alluded to at the beginning of the show. August 27th is 1 week from today. So football is back FCS level for sure next Thursday. Not saying they can go out there and win that game so they can go compete and then come home, play a couple of home games. And you're right, West Florida's a real good team. If they may start 0-2 realistically, but if they can compete in both of those, I think that's a promising start from improving from a 3-9 year. Hopefully we'll give the fans a little hope because, like you said, September 12th they get hopefully what should be a pretty easy win for them in Central Oklahoma before they hit the road for a month. So
that is if you don't come back from Martin with a win, if you don't beat West Florida at home and beat Central Oklahoma, it is going to be a tough time in Conway because you've got road games at SEMO and Florida State, a bye. And then you go to Abilene and Tarleton back-to-back weeks. And what they did last year, and that is just a tough stretch. 4 games on the road in 5 weeks, not a home game. And so
September 12th, the gap between home games, September 12th until October 24th. That is, if you come back home for those last 5 games of the year and you're 1-6, I mean, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's not a good position to be in. That's
and
tough.
with an alum as coach, that is never a good situation to be in.
And man, that hurts when you're an alum and you're probably one of the most. One of the best quarterbacks to ever have played at school. And you would these coaches who are coaching at their alma maters, you would assume it means more. I don't think I've ever met someone who coaches their alma mater and it doesn't mean just a little bit more to them when they're successful. So I would assume 3-9 last year hurt him more than we would just assume as the average fan. And I would like to think that he's made some changes but he's hovering around the 500 mark now for a record in his tenure. And so you don't ever want to pull the trigger on a coach when it's at the school they went to, especially when they played for you and brought you a lot of success. But
And if he doesn't,
if he don't win this year, I think he's in trouble.
I think so too. I don't know the contract situation or anything like that, but to put together, UCA is not used to having losing seasons. Maybe some seasons that aren't as good as others.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you go from the Southlands to one version of the UAC where you're playing out in Utah and all across the country, and now it's more Texas to the East Coast based, and it's more geographic. But that's a lot of change in a short amount of time.
But it's a good opportunity.
Yes.
For them too, to kind of get back on track, like you said. And people can say what they want. I don't care what you say, and it goes for FBS too. The geography mess that these conferences can be in can affect your team.
Yes.
Imagine, being one of those teams on the opposite coast of most of your conference, and you're spending half the year flying back and forth across the country. That affects you. I think a lot more than people, I think, really truly believe. But I don't know, and I think geographically, like, I agree with you that could help them, hopefully, but man, there's a lot of talent in that conference between Tarleton and West Florida, Austin Peay, and some of the others that if they can finish in the top half, I think Brown may be okay. I think he's got to at least win half these games to have a chance, because like we said, worst season since, in 54 years. That's huge. And so he definitely cannot have another 3-9 season, because that's just what you alluded to. That's just not what Conway people are used to.
They're not, and that unfortunately that schedule that they have is not built for success.
No,
it's some of those things. Sometimes that happens because when you're changing the makeup of conferences, people usher in and out, and you got to work around everybody's schedules. But that stretch of 4 games on the road in 5 weeks without a home game, it's just killer. And if UCA can survive that, man, they're off. They're going to have a good ending. But goodness, that is just a tough stretch for anybody at any level to survive.
Let's swing it the other direction as far as success goes and go down to D2. And honestly, probably the most successful school in the state of Arkansas for the last few years, no doubt, is Harding. And they are 2 years removed from a natty in D2, and they were so close last year to doing it again. 15-1, perfect conference record once again. Boy, you kind of feel like you would, you're, especially if you're a returner, you're out for blood when you come back after losing a national championship and missing out, losing 1 game. Preseason, they're ranked number 2 to start the year in Division II in the nation.
And they've got a new coach.
And again, can go either way when you get new coaches, I guess. But to me, the success has just been too great. I don't see a cliff fall by any means from Harding. I like what they've got this year.
Now, I think Roddy Moat will step in. He's been on the staff a long time. Paul Simmons has moved over to the general manager seat at Harding, and you don't see, I have not exactly just Googled this, but there's not a lot of GM positions at the Division II level. So that is a great luxury for Harding, especially having, Paul Simmons not just being the head coach the last few years, but has been on staff at Harding for a long time. So a great position to be in, and allows him to do some things while Roddy Moat is the coach. And then the other thing they do that is just impossible, I guess not impossible, but makes it a very hard thing to do, to defend, is they run the flex bone, the triple option, whatever you want to call the offense that they do, the spread option if you're Paul Johnson.
Ran to perfection is impossible. So.
And they do it so well. If you've not seen a Harding football game in person, go out and see them.
Here's your schedule. Go find them this year. Plenty of home games, and then a couple of in-state road games too. So.
Yeah, exactly. And they start out on a Thursday night. So if you're a fan of another school and you've got a game to watch on Saturday, when you're driving back from the Harding game on Thursday night, you can listen to Lake Area Takes. So there you go. They open with Northwestern Oklahoma.
And I tell you what, they touch every part of Oklahoma. They play Northwestern Oklahoma, followed by a trip to Southwestern Oklahoma. And then in October, they play host to Southeastern Oklahoma. And then on Halloween, they're at Oklahoma Baptist.
One of the schools I think is going to be interesting to see what kind of staying power they have this year after a great season last year is Arkansas Tech. They win 7 games. They go to a bowl game in 2025. And it just, are they going to have the staying power? I'm really very impressed with what that new staff has done in Russellville. And they put up a lot of success in the first year, especially with the change in coaches at Henderson. Took advantage of that. And the thing that I will be interested to see is Arkansas Tech going to be the new number 2 school in the GAC.
I think it's plausible. I think that, excuse me. Apologies. I think that, no, I think it's definitely plausible because, like you said, I think that something with last year's season didn't feel like it was fluke, shot in the dark, one-hit wonder. I think there's a big chance for them to build on it. Obviously, playing that last game of the year at Harding this year could be one of the biggest games in the state all season, any level.
And they have played for however the GAC does their schedule. The last few years, it's been Harding and Arkansas Tech. And I've been to one of these games, and it has not been pretty. But if Tech keeps improving.
Right. Those games could get closer and closer. And one of the questions we wrote down for this is these are on the screen, the remaining D2 teams in the state with Tech, Henderson, Washita Baptist, and SAU. One of the things we asked was, is there another D2 team who's the best D2 team with a chance to compete against Harding? A lot of people, what do you think about Washita this year? Let me ask that.
They had a down year for their standards last year.
Which I think has a lot of people with the question mark on it. That's why I was wondering.
Now, how much of that is the fact that Arkansas Tech's coach was the defensive coordinator at Washita?
True.
You don't know about that?
Little known fact.
And then, Washita at home loses to Arkansas Tech last year. Mm-hmm. And then Tech does the ultimate Tech thing and loses the game it shouldn't have the next time.
Yep.
But they still had a great season and went to a bowl game, which is spectacular. There's not very many Division II bowls, and the fact that they played in one. That is the most success that a Tech football team has had in a long time.
So you feel the best team of these who could compete with Harding in Arkansas is going to be Arkansas Tech?
I think that SAU is probably sneakily good. I just don't have a good feel for Henderson. They've had some good. Henderson and Washita have had some great success the past few years. Mm-hmm. Henderson's had a change in leadership. How does that affect things long term? They were a little down last year by their standards. SAU seems to kind of bounce around in that tier. Does that give Arkansas Tech the opening to kind of bump itself up and stay there? I don't know. I do think that in the GAC, the Oklahoma teams are just generally not very good. So I think the higher tier in that conference is Harding, followed by the 2 or 3 Arkansas schools, which is probably going to be Tech, Washita, and either Henderson or SAU. Maybe Southeastern Oklahoma. Sometimes they're all right. But I don't know that anyone will seriously challenge Harding just because of what they do. And I think they have just, ever since the year, I can't remember, it was 3 or 4 years ago, Washita was ranked, went to Harding, and Harding just stomped them.
Yeah.
It wasn't the stomping, but the way they out-physicaled Washita Baptist at that point and beat them, that's when Harding took control, in my mind, of this conference, and I do not see them, letting loose of that control anytime soon.
I agree 100%. I think that I don't know. I like the improvement at Tech. I'm maybe not quite as sold on SAU being sneakily good as you, and I venture to say that I'm a little more hesitant to say anybody else could compete with Harding right now outside of OBU. If I had to say, can anybody compete with them? I'm with you. Is no. Second best D2 team in Arkansas. I think I can't I don't think I can quite go Tech. I'm going to stay with Ouachita. I don't think anybody's touching Harding. I think Harding has established himself these past few years as a D2 powerhouse, and I don't think they're moving. I think their feet are firmly planted. Would not be shocked at all to see them run through the playoffs again this year and compete for another national championship. I think they have a very good chance to win it. I can't think of the young man's name. You're going to have to help me, but the young man running the ball is flat out insane. And I think that he's primed and poised to continue. Name is slipping my mind. I wrote every name down under the sun except his.
The Braden J.
Yes.
But he is gone.
Is he
was a
gone?
senior.
Okay. I'm thinking of somebody else then. Somebody that they have in the backfield coming back, I think is poised to, or coming back or coming in, one of the two. I read his name earlier, didn't write it down. I like his numbers. I like what he's done. I think that it's going to.
You've got, now that I'm just looking at the roster again, that's why I didn't remember this. I don't know, Cedric Hawkins, who is from Stuttgart. Started his career at ASU, is now on the Harding roster as a running back. And before he got injured, I can't remember if it was his freshman or sophomore season at ASU where he got injured, and that kind of slid him out of the rotation there. He was looking to make some gains. So if he is healthy, he will be a huge addition to that backfield of Harding.
I think that there's a plausible chance that we can sit here in a few months and talk about them in the national championship game again. I hope they are. I mean, I like watching. Harding is so fun to watch. I'm with John 100%. If you have not watched, I haven't watched them in person, but I've watched their games. If you have not watched Harding football in the last few years, you have missed out. Find one of those games or go to one of those games. As John said, first game's on a Thursday this year. Head to Searcy and watch it. They're a lot of fun to watch. And honestly, the whole state for D2, Arkansas has a lot of talent in Division II between all five of these teams.
And I think Andrew Miller is another one who had a great season.
So
is a running back for Harding, ran for 2,000 yards last year. That's correct.
do you have anything else with these for D2 for Harding or any of these other schools?
No, not for the Division II schools. We do have two Division III schools with Lyon College and Hendrix. Lyon College has a pretty new stadium. I have not been to the new stadium. I've seen them play at the old stadium. They have struggled at first the NAI level and now the Division III level. In the same conference now as Hendrix, so at least they can have some kind of fun rivalry there. But it's been a struggle for Lyon College. I hope for fans there they get things turned around. Ever since they brought in football, it's just not worked well. But sometimes it just takes a while to get everything go from that direction. And Hendrix did all right last year. I think they were about a 500 team, and I expect about the same for them this year.
Yeah,
watch the game.
I'm not as cultured and as caught up to speed. Like I said, pretty much it's a given. Lyon has been struggling. Hendrix has been kind of mid, but that was kind of our takeaway. These two teams are close to the lake area. If you need something to do on a weekend, go find a game. Watch it. Hendrix has got a really good facilities at Hendrix.
They do. It's very nice.
Lake area has been lucky enough to use their football facilities for a couple of years. So,
and I don't know what their policy is, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but the time that I went to the Hendrix game, they did not charge admission.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's still the case or it just happened to be that one day because of some reason. I don't know, but I walked in, nobody said, "Hey, baby, $10 or whatever." If you want to watch a college football game in Arkansas or close by, there is no excuse. There is a ton of football programs in this state. Searcy, it's an hour away from us.
You're looking at 4 schools within an hour of that area, for sure.
You've got Lyon College, Hendrix, UCA, Russellville is just an hour and a half from here.
Nope.
So, it's not even, you get on the interstate and you go to Arkadelphia and maybe you could get lucky and watch 2 games in one day. I've always wanted to do that, so maybe someday it'll work out.
Jonesboro's only 2, so it's not.
Yeah, you can go and inexpensively watch a college football game in this state and not have to spend a ton of money.
Lots of good football in the state of Arkansas this year, all the way from the top with the Hogs and the Red Wolves down to the D3 level, everything in between. We're going to take our first set of commercial breaks, and
we almost forgot UAPB.
We did almost forget UAPB. Very true.
Gosh, they have just struggled to get any kind of consistency in football.
Which may be why we nearly left them in the dust.
But yeah, it's one of the few places that I have not been to a game in this state. But they open up at Missouri. I guess that's their second game. They have a week 0 game against Morehouse. But fun atmosphere, but they have struggled in the SWAC, and now that the SWAC has kind of expanded to include Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M, it's a tougher road to hoe there as well. So good luck to UAPB as well.
Take our first set of commercial breaks. We come back, we'll expand our predictions and our thoughts a little bit nationally, hit the power conferences. When we come back later on the show, we'll talk potential Heisman winners, some big takes, and who we think our national champions are going to be this year. So stick around, a lot more coming up right here on Lake Area Takes.
Discover Little Red at Indian Hills, where good food, great views, and Arkansas hospitality come together in Fairfield Bay. Enjoy lunch or dinner with comfortable indoor seating, a relaxing outdoor patio, and barbecue available Thursday through Saturday. From golfers fresh off the course to locals and visitors alike, Little Red is the place to gather, eat well, and unwind. Little Red at Indian Hills. Good food, great views, and a Fairfield Bay favorite.
Looking for farm fresh beef for your family? Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company has you covered. Choose from a whole, half, or a quarter beef, or purchase individual packaged cuts. Our cattle are locally raised, and your beef is processed at a trusted local facility for quality you can taste. Best of all, your order is picked up and hand-delivered locally right to your door by Eddie Whitehurst. Call Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company today and put farm-raised beef on your family's table.
Ready for your next beach getaway? Discover the perfect vacation with Willock Condo Rentals. Enjoy beautiful beachfront condos in Navarre Beach and Panama City Beach, Florida. When you book directly with the owner, you'll pay no service fees, saving more money for fun in the sun. For over 15 years, Willock Condo Rentals has helped families create unforgettable beach memories with comfortable accommodations and breathtaking Gulf views. Start planning your next vacation today. Contact Willock Condo Rentals and experience the beach the way it was meant to be. Hungry? We've got you covered. Welcome to Bentley's Restaurant, Greer's Ferry's largest restaurant. Join us for breakfast and lunch every Tuesday and Wednesday, then come back Thursday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From homemade omelets and our Saturday breakfast buffet to fresh salads, daily lunch specials, and hand-cut ribeyes cut as big as you want them, there's something for everyone. Friday and Saturday nights are legendary with our seafood buffet featuring jumbo peel and eat shrimp, catfish, crawfish, and all your favorites. Plus, don't miss our delicious prime rib on Saturday nights and our crab leg dinner every Friday and Saturday. Whether you're joining us for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you'll always find great food, generous portions, and friendly service. Bentley's Restaurant in Greer's Ferry. Come hungry, bring your friends, and make every meal one to remember.
Are you a sports card collector? Then make your next stop Stan's Sports Cards in Greenbrier. Whether you're chasing vintage legends or today's hottest rookies, Stan's Sports Cards has something for every sports fan. Browse an incredible selection of sports cards, jerseys, memorabilia, and collectibles from your favorite teams and players. Looking to sell? Stan's Sports Cards is actively buying vintage and modern sports cards. Turn those cards sitting in a box into cash today. Visit Stan's Sports Cards at 26 South Broadview, Highway 65, in Greenbrier, open Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Back here on Lake Area Takes, and we are in our college football preview episode here with John Verser. I'm Austin Gray, and we just hit all of our in-state talent here in the state of Arkansas. We're going to kind of go a little beyond, talk about some of the big conferences, and so we're going to start off with the SEC. Shout out first off, right before we came on air, Will Venables with an extension at Oklahoma. He has gotten paid, and he will be back to coach the Sooners for about, I think it was for 6 years. So, or if not, he will be sitting at home making a bunch of money. So shout out to Oklahoma, Will Venables for.
Either or, his agent did a great job.
Yeah, that's it.
Extended before the season.
If I'm his agent, I'm hoping I get a bonus. Just a couple of just shoot the breeze questions before we get into everything here. There's 4 new coaches. We'll start with that one in the conference this year. We got Silverfield at Arkansas, Golish is at Auburn, we have Summerall at Florida, and Will Stein out at Kentucky. Is there one of those 4 that you think might have the best year one over the rest?
I tend to lean Florida just because they historically have some talent. What they've done with it may have not always worked, but I like John Summerall, what he's done both at Troy and Tulane. He's got a playoff appearance under his belt, which is more than Florida could say.
Exactly.
So you just really like if I'm picking a coach, Auburn is still Jekyll and Hyde. So I don't know that it matters how good Golish is. I don't think that Silverfield at Arkansas will surprise in year one. I think that Kentucky under Stein will struggle mightily in year one. And so that basically leaves Summerall, who I think is a very good coach as well.
Yeah, I think that the success at Tulane translates easier over to Florida, who, are still looking for their Steve Spurrier and their Urban Meyer. And could it be Summerall? I don't know. I like the guy. Auburn, you're right. I think Golish can do well at Auburn, but Auburn never gives anybody a chance. So I wish him the best in his predicament.
He's going to be cashing a check sometime in the next 4 years.
He will. But I think he can. I like Golish. I was not one on
I do too.
I was not one on the train of, Arkansas must hire him, but I like the guy, and I think he's a good coach, and he clearly knows how to put up points. And he brought his quarterback with him. So Auburn could have a good year. They have a rough schedule, but I'm going to agree with you. I think it just makes sense out of kind of like you did, process of elimination, to say out of those 4 schools with new coaches, Florida may have the most success year one. New coach, that is not the only new coach in the conference. Obviously, probably the biggest new coach is Lane Kiffin out at LSU. And then you have Golding sticking around at Ole Miss after Kiffin fled. So obviously you've got Ole Miss, LSU. Those 2 teams are going to play in September. But of those 2 schools, Ole Miss or LSU, who do you see having the better year with their new situations?
GEAUX. By far.
Not that I disagree with it. I hate anything. I hate when they spell every word in EDAUX.
Yeah, well, you play the Louisiana team too.
That's what you
Get
get.
used to it. But I think LSU has the weapons. They have a guy who knows how to utilize them. You've got a returning quarterback in Nussmeier. You put some defense with that, which I think has been their big problem. Then I think you're going to have a lot more success. Whereas Ole Miss can struggle out the gate. They open up in a neutral side game playing a ranked Louisville team, which is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And if things go south in a hurry, you've got LSU in week 3, and you go to Florida in week 4. Ole Miss could be staring at 1-3. Legitimately, could happen. And that's not even saying they're a bad team, but Louisville is going to be a really good team. You got Charlotte at home after that. You should win that game easily, but there's going to be so much pressure when Kiffin comes back to town to kick him out the right way. And that is Lane Kiffin thrives in those situations. And then you got to go to Florida, and you're staring at coming back to Oxford 1-3.
I agree with you. LSU, to me, will definitely have a better year than Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss will have a bad year. I think LSU has a good schedule. I think that they have a lot of talent who jumped in on the Lane train. And We've talked about my infatuation with Lane Kiffin as a coach, not necessarily saying as a person or anything, but and just the drama that follows him. And you're right. I think they'll beat Louisville. I think Ole Miss will beat Louisville week 1. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but everyone just thinks, Ole Miss is going to be ready. Man, when Lane comes back, they're just going to. I think that there's going to be so much hype they're going to forget about the game. And I think LSU's going to walk in calm, cool, and collected. Lane's going to take the golf balls being thrown at him, whatever has happened to him in the past. And I think LSU walks out winning double digits. So I agree. I think LSU definitely has the better season out of the two. One thing we did do for all these bigger conferences is we kind of talked about some surprises and maybe some teams who might be a little bit overhyped or overrated. So for the SEC, who have you got maybe a little overrated this year?
I think we can continue, rinse, repeat. Ole Miss will struggle this year. You got Trinity and Chandler's back.
Who's not a bad player.
Who is a great quarterback. But after that, I think there could be some problems. And you can manage chaos for a short playoff run. But now that Pete Golding is in for the entire year, what's that going to look like? And, I just don't know that, you go in week 1 against Louisville. Braun at Louisville has done a spectacular job there. The dude knows quarterbacks. I think they're going to be ready out the gate. Ole Miss does not have an easy first month schedule. If things go bad, does that snowball? And I think Ole Miss is not going to. I think they'll go to a bowl game, but I think they will struggle a lot more than people expect in this season.
I think that mine is way more off the deep end because, man, people have just put these guys on a pedestal again this year. I do not believe in Texas this year at all. They have got a brutal schedule. Nobody is making out a big deal about the schedule for Texas this year, but Ohio State again this year, week 2. That is at home, but it does not matter when it's Ohio State. I don't think Tennessee's an easy win. They have to go to Rocky Top at the end of September, and then they take a bye, come back and play Red River. That is a plus for them, getting a bye week before going out to play against Oklahoma. They do get Ole Miss at home, but then their final 4 games of the year, 3 of the 4 on the road, at Missouri, at LSU. They do come home to play Arkansas, and then at Texas A&M. Those last 3 games, I think it's so reasonable for them to go 1-3. I think this team could win as few as 8 games this year, maybe 7. I think they have a hard schedule. You lose Ohio State early. If you drop Tennessee or Oklahoma or Ole Miss, now you're at 2. And even if you drop 2 of those last 4, that's 8-4. If you lose 3 of those last 4, Missouri, who knows with Missouri, like we've said? Who knows with LSU, like we've said? And A&M's going to be good, whether they are or not that game at 12th man in this big rivalry game. Who knows what can happen? I'm not an Archie Manning hater one bit. I defended him last year. I think people who thought he, sucked last year and he was the reason that they struggled don't know enough about football. Archie did the best he could. He was not protected very well. He made some, he struggled on a few throws every once in a while, but I thought he played very well last year.
And as the season went on, he got better.
And he got way better. I think he got put on such a pedestal for his last name, and everyone just expected him to walk out with Heisman's and every other award. So I'm not an Archie Manning hater. He may have another great year. I think this team is a little bit overhyped again, and I think that they're going to have a hard time with this schedule. Flip the coin to the other side. Is there anybody who might contend in this conference to you that might be kind of on the surprising end of things?
MIZ. Missouri.
You just are all. I'm infatuated with Lane Kiffin. Are you infatuated with Eli Drinkwitz?
Eli Drinkwitz is my homeboy. He was on our staff for a little while. Coffee cup, I guess. But no, I just think
he's a good coach.
He's a good coach. Missouri has won double-digit win seasons the last 2 years. And I don't think anyone really expected that the last couple of years. Maybe last year. He's done it with some quarterback struggles and injuries and still managed to go 10-3 or whatever. And if you look at the Missouri schedule, I think if they can manage a couple games, it is built for success. You open your home against UAPB. You go to your former arch rival in Kansas. That is a close ball game. A huge ball game, and I am not a Kansas believer. I really
want
that
either, but I just mean, for the rivalry part of it, that's a big game.
Yeah, oh yeah. But then you've got, Troy at home after that, which Troy's going to be tough. But you've got a very manageable SEC schedule by that standards. Your first conference game is at Starkville. You'll be 4-0. Florida is at home. There's a lot of question mark with Florida. A&M is at home. You go to Ole Miss, and who knows what's going to be happening in Oxford at that point. I mean, Oxford may be burning down the town and drinking brown water out in the Grove by that point, not caring what's going on. Or maybe, they're not. And then you got a bye week, then they go to Arkansas. I think there is a case to be made, not a great one, but I think there is a somewhat legitimate chance that if everything falls the right way, that Missouri could legitimately be undefeated when they go to Georgia. That's the middle of November. I'm not saying that all those games are going to fall that way, but I think the schedule is built that way. Drinkwitz is a better coach than people give him credit for. He's able to manage things the right way and get the wins. I know he's aggravating to Missouri fans sometimes, and especially Arkansas fans at other times. But I think Drinkwitz is a great coach, and I think this schedule is built for success because even if after they go to Georgia, they come back and they host Kentucky. So basically, they're only what I would call really tough games. And then the other thing, your only tough road game in the conference is at Georgia. Oklahoma and Texas A&M are both at home. And maybe Ole Miss is tough at that point. Maybe they're not. But I think it's a manageable schedule. And people are saying that they're going to fall off the cliff. I think Missouri is going to win at the low point 8 games. And maybe they win 10. If they get sneaky good, 11. But I think it's probably a 9 or 10 win team. I don't think anybody's really talking about them. Don't know why, because Drinkwitz, once he kind of got him rolling, he just wins.
It's a proven winner. I'm going Tennessee. I don't hate the Missouri pick. I think that makes perfect sense, every bit of it. But I like Tennessee, and I know a few weeks ago I think you said you're not sold on them, and a lot of people aren't. Biggest reason I think people aren't sold on them is they have a new quarterback and they don't know how that's going to go, which is very true. Their wide receiver group, though, is extremely experienced. They have a 1,000-yard rusher coming back. They have the majority of their offensive line back. And their defense has been their biggest problem. They just brought in Jim Knowles, who spent the last 2 seasons at Ohio State and Penn State, respectively. If somebody, Penn State was a fiasco last year, put that aside, he won the national title as Ohio State's defensive coordinator.
And before that, did a spectacular job at Oklahoma
State. And so he's got a good guy. Heupel has a good guy to help turn that defense around. Their secondary last year was horrible. Yeah, you're right. It was a horrible year for Tennessee last year, for Tennessee standards. Horrible secondary. They have 3 big transfers that came in, though, to fix that. They have a doable schedule. Now, any schedule in the SEC is going to be tough. It does not matter. You cannot say that anybody has a cupcake walk through the SEC. It just does not happen. But the only toughest game they're really looking at, they have to go to Georgia Tech week 2. If that game's a struggle, I'm going to be sitting here with my foot in my mouth. If they go to Georgia Tech and lose or barely win, I'm going to really regret feeling like Tennessee could be a contender. If they come home and play Texas at home, that's winnable. Clearly, I just said how I feel about Texas. 3rd Saturday in October. Who the heck knows? It's in Rocky Top this year. Clearly nobody is sold on Bama. They're outside the top 10 in the AP poll for the first time in years. The one game I think they're guaranteed to lose no matter how good of a season they have to go to A&M in mid-November. And then second to last game of the year, Lane Kiffin brings his group back to Tennessee. And if you think Ole Miss hates them, people forget Tennessee hates him just as much. Listen, in those last few games, I think they can go 3-2, even 4-1. We did a ceiling floor earlier. I think this team can win 10 games. I think this team could win 11 games if their quarterback plays good and if Knowles has fixed the defense. I stretch to say 11. I clearly think this team can go 10-2. And if you can go 10-2 in the SEC, you can get one of the 12 spots in the playoffs. So,
how many cases of moonshine did somebody send you before this prediction?
None. I was as sober as could be when I thought that. And like I said, I may be sitting here punching myself on September 12th when they're in Atlanta getting beat by Georgia Tech. But that's just my thought. And I think that in December we're going to have part of an episode where we look back and see where we were both right and where we were both wrong. Because this will either be one of the ones where I was really right or really, really wrong.
You're going to be blaring Rocky Top with the speakers if you're right on this.
I may do that. I'll sing it on the show.
You and the Hound Dog.
SEC champion this year, who you got?
Georgia.
Yeah.
I think rinse repeat. Kirby Smart's a great coach. They've got a lot coming back and experience, and until somebody beats the king, they're it. And I just don't know that anybody in the SEC, some people say Texas, whatever. I just don't think that they've got enough. Maybe Oklahoma, I'm just not very high on them, despite your coach's new big money contract.
Coach getting paid money won't make the team better.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that anybody can legitimately challenge Georgia over a course of a full season. Will they lose a game or two? Probably. They're not going to lose the conference.
Yeah, I won't take long. We agree. Go Bulldogs, I guess. Gunnar Stockton's back. Nate Frazier's back in the backfield. 3 of their 5 starting O-linemen are back. Half a dozen defensive starters are back. They had one of the best defenses in the country last year. You said rinse, repeat. I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I agree with you until somebody knocks them off the pedestal. And for the people who think, a lot of people have Texas predicted higher than them. I just don't see how. I don't think the roster's as good. I just think the Georgia roster is really good, and you're right. Will they slip up? Could they slip up and drop a game this year or 2? Maybe. If you lose good games though in the SEC, you can still make the playoff. And Lord knows Georgia's good enough to keep it rolling. We both agree on that. Let's go to the Big Ten. Obviously, the 2 biggest conferences, SEC and the Big Ten. The reigning national champions for the past 3 years, all different teams. Currently, we are sitting in the era of Indiana. As the way you worded it, can Indiana continue their reign of terror?
I think Indiana will be a very, very good football team. I think Indiana will make the playoffs. I think they will challenge for a Big Ten title. But there's too many questions, I think, to just automatically put the crown on their head once again. Could they win again? Absolutely. But, another new quarterback. You lose a lot of your foundational players. Their eligibility is, I guess, theoretically up. Who knows anymore with these judges that keep throwing decisions out there. So there's a lot of turnover there. I just don't think that even though Cignetti is a great coach, you can Google him.
He wins.
He wins.
He wins.
I think there's too many question marks just to put the crown on their head. So while they will be very competitive and challenge for a Big Ten title, I don't think that they're going to beat either both Oregon or Ohio State this year. So I would probably put them in like the 3rd position.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be a good team. I think
Spectacular.
I am horrified of Kurt Cignetti. He's a scary individual, but he wins, and he will tell you that in a press conference that he wins. Look me up. But you're right. There's too many couple other teams that are just more talented than they are this year. Of course, we said that last year and definitely 2 years ago, and we've all ate our words. So could they do it again? I wouldn't put it past them, but would be very, very surprised. And the other question I want to ask too is one team that's got a big question mark over them and hopefully is moving away from all the garbage that surrounds their program is Michigan. Kyle Whittingham is no longer at Utah. He is in Michigan. How do you think your one goes for the Michigan Wolverines?
I think very successful. I think they'll be knocking on the door of one of those top tier spots in the Big Ten. They've got some talent.
I was going to ask that. What for you what is successful this year for Michigan?
I think if they win, without having their schedule right in front of me, if they're winning 8-9, have a chance to win 10 games.
If they have a Utah year, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
8-9 wins, 10 wins, pushing on 10.
Yeah, I mean the big thing for them, and it is a home game this year, is they have Oklahoma early. That's in week 2.
Mm-hmm.
Last year they had to go to Oklahoma.
That's a big game early.
And then, you've got Ohio State, which is always the last week of the season.
My goodness, if he wins that game his first year.
Yeah, that would be.
He's got tenure.
But your other big games are kind of at home. You've got Indiana at home. You got Penn State at home. We'll see what kind of turnaround they have. And just looking down the schedule, your big road games are at Oregon and at Ohio State, both late in the season. So if Michigan gets it together by that point, those are 2 of the last 3 games. Maybe you don't win those games, but I think that they can be sneakily good. I really like what they've done at quarterback. I really think that they'll kind of get things set away this year. And then it would not surprise me at all. This is a way ahead prediction that they at least challenge for a national title in 2027.
I don't think that's far-fetched at all, and I think that Whittingham, we talked about good hires a few weeks ago, and this was one of the best. And if the guy sat at Utah for 20 years, just, and he never left. His name was thrown around for 20 years, and he went to a bigger program, to one of the biggest programs in college football, and no more Harbaugh, no more Sharon Moore, no more athletic director. Every piece of their fire is gone. And it's a chance for Michigan to get back to stability, and they've got one of the most statistically successful college football coaches in the 21st century. So I'm with you. I think 8, 9, 10 wins this year is phenomenal if you're Michigan. And if we're talking about you in November potentially making the playoff, then heck yeah, if I'm a Michigan fan, because I'm with you. Next year, I think this time next year, we're sitting here breaking down the season. We're talking about Michigan a lot harder than this. I think you're exactly right on that. But I do like Michigan this year. I think they'll have a very successful first year. So we both think Michigan will do all right. Who do we think's a little bit overrated this year in the Big Ten?
Southern Cal. Just listen to their schedule. They host Oregon. They host Washington. They go to Penn State and Wisconsin. And after that, the gauntlet of Ohio State at Indiana. That's a lot. Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, all on your schedule. I don't care that and Washington's not exactly a great place to get to.
Nope.
I mean, they're not exactly next door to them.
Washington is the team this year who can, you've got those 4 or 5 Washington could be the team this year that they may not go 9-3, but they can ruin some people's seasons because they have a lot of these big teams coming to their place, and they can mess up some seasons for sure, including USC.
Yeah, and even though you're at home against Oregon, the week before you're traveling to Rutgers, which is just odd to say. I mean, your game at Penn State followed by a game at Wisconsin. Can you navigate those back-to-back and then come home against Ohio State? So there's just a lot of challenges there. I think USC's problem has never been scoring points. I think they'll be fine at that or whatever. But how much in one season can Coach pull up your pants, a.k.a. Gary Patterson? What kind of impacts could he make? Seriously, looking at him on the sideline, he spends half the time pulling up his pants.
Yeah, he really does.
So I don't think that there's going to be enough in the tank there for USC to have the kind of season that they want, that everybody's wanting, so they can blast a little song and, Trojan this and Trojan that. So I think they're overrated. They will struggle based on the schedule and the travel. And, one season with Gary Patterson there is not going to be the impact that they want. I think that Gary Patterson will improve the defense. But can he do it immediately? I don't think enough to face this caliber of competition.
I think the Trojan riding out on the horse, planting the sword is one of the most underrated pregame things in college football. And but for mine, I can feel his eyes on me. I think Indiana's a little overrated this year because I think that people are automatically putting them back in title contention. And like I said, we didn't do this for the last 2 years, and look at where it got us. But I'm going for it for this year. They've only got 3 starters coming back on offense. All of their really tough games come after October 10th. They have to go to Nebraska. Who the heck knows how that will go? Play Ohio State. They go to Michigan. Play USC. And then they're one of those teams that has to go to Washington. That dominant defense last year, vast majority of those guys are gone. And, everyone keeps talking about Josh Hoover, new quarterback, replacing Mendoza, Heisman winner, whatever. Hoover was at TCU, and he was okay. He was not. He was a good quarterback, but he was not a world beater. He's not the greatest quarterback that was in D1. And every year he's played, he's thrown more. He's gradually increased his interception numbers. They can contain him, and he can get him back to a level where maybe his interception numbers can go down for once. They may be okay. A lot of people think their schedule is easy. I think it's tougher than it appears. I don't care, that you get Ohio State at home, but that does not matter with the Ohio State team. To Michigan's going to be tough. At Washington's going to be tough. Nebraska and USC, who the heck knows, and they've lost a lot of talent. So I think, I'm not saying they're overrated in the sense of they're going to fall down to a 6-6 program. I say overrated because I feel like people automatically have them potentially winning another national title, and I think that's just a little bit of a stretch. flip that one over. Who you guys surprisingly contending this year in Big Ten?
Pat Burt,
Fat Bird.
former Arkansas coach.
Former, hey,
Brett Bielema and Illinois Fighting Illini, I think. Wow.
I like Bielema. I never minded him. I thought he was a good coach.
I've always thought he was funny. Funnier Sam Pittman, maybe a little bit better coach. But I don't know that it was a great fit for Arkansas.
And he wears long sleeves every game. He wore them long sleeves in those hot 110-degree September games, and I would just be like, man, he's got to be dying.
Trying to lose a little weight, I guess. But anyhow, Illinois, just looking at their schedule, they've got to change his quarterback. If Luke Altmaier had been back, I would have been even more higher on Illinois. But he has gone to the NFL now to do the Lions. But you look at their opening schedule, they've got UAB, Duke, and Southern Illinois at home. I think those are all winnable games. I think Duke is just so overrated. But I guess that's for another segment, too. But they're big games. Looking at the schedule, they go to Ohio State. I think that's definitely a loss. But other than that, their only other big game is Oregon at home. Other than that, I mean, this schedule of Purdue, Michigan State, Maryland, Nebraska, UCLA, Iowa, Northwestern. And you've got Iowa at home. You've got Nebraska at home. So of those teams that are better-ish, you get them at home. And they won 9 games a year ago. I think they've got a lot of momentum. I like what they do offensively with your former quarterback, whose name I can't remember at the moment. Yeah. The guy was from Fort Smith. It's not driving me nuts.
I'm a brain dead you are on that one.
Barry Loney Jr.
There you go. Okay.
So, yeah. I think he's done well. I think UTSA before Illinois, and I really like what he does offensively. It kind of fits Illinois. I think they'll be just good enough on defense. They've got a transfer quarterback coming from East Carolina. He started a ton of games, both at ECU and he was at Wake Forest before that. Got some experience, so I think he just kind of slides in there. I think the schedule, other than those 2 games, is very manageable, and I'm going to be bold and say 10-2 Illinois.
I think that's doable. I did always like Bielema, but the one thing with him and the one thing with Fat Burt, as I will now probably call him till the day I die, man, he can win some games. He can lose some games he ain't supposed to lose. That's my only fear. I would love a 10-2 Illinois team. I would love an Illinois team that could beat Oregon at home. I think that would be huge for the Big Ten. So I hope you're right. I think this would be a lot of fun. So go Fat Burt. I'm going to go more up northeast and say Penn State. Matt Campbell I think that was a good hire. That guy stuck around Iowa State and had his name thrown around. He had his name thrown around at Arkansas 3 times. Everybody always talked about him leaving Iowa State eventually. Where would he go? And he's like Whittingham. He stuck around, and then a big, valuable program come calling. You can't turn down Penn State. It's just one of those probably 5 or 6 schools that it does not matter. If you get a call from Michigan, Penn State, Alabama, Notre Dame, few of those schools that call you, you don't say no. And I think that was Penn State. He brought Rocco Becht with him. He's 3-year starter at Iowa State, 26-13 record. He's thrown for 9,274 yards. He has 83 total touchdowns in the air and on the ground. Their running back also jumped over 1,700 yards, 19 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. And Penn State has a sophomore coming back from last year who ran in their bowl game win over Clemson for 103 yards. So they have a good, solid backfield. Their top 3 tacklers from Iowa State, yeah, he pretty much packed up the team and brought them with him. But when your team's had success, why not? Iowa State's 3 best tacklers have jumped over. The secondary that was already strong at Penn State, even in their struggles last year, brought back 2 starters. Biggest thing for Penn State, 3 teams not on their schedule this year: Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. None on their schedule, and that helps. What are their toughest games? I can only write down 3 that I would even consider tough. USC at home. The next week, they go to Michigan, and then November 7th at Washington. That is those are the only three, looking at their schedule, I even considered tough. They can come out of those three games 2-1, and they can take care of the rest that they're heavily favored in. I would not be shocked to see this team go 10-2, potentially 11-1 or 9-3. So I think Penn State can do very okay with Matt Campbell in year one. Who's your champion this year in the Big Ten?
Quack, quack, the Ducks win.
That it? Enough said?
I think they've got Dante Moore back at quarterback. They've got a lot of weapons. They've got a good defense. I just think they're pretty much what Dan Lanning has kind of built, what he built on from Mario Cristobal before him. And I think Oregon is in that prime position. Things will fall right, and they will come out ahead this time.
Yeah. You know what? I'm with you. We're on the same page yet again. I think this is the year of the Duck. I think that we have watched them be so close. They might have a toughish schedule to some. First two games, Boise State at home at Oklahoma State. A couple of a power four school, and then Boise State, who's always kind of sub power four. They go to USC. They go to Illinois. They go to Ohio State. And they have some tough home games: Nebraska, Michigan, Washington, UCLA. If you look at this is an NFL caliber roster. This is the most talented roster of players in college football. I don't care if the schedule is tough-ish. This team that came back, so many of them could have went pro and would be playing right now. There would be no undrafted signing. Like, these guys would have gotten drafted. But so many of them chose to come back for what they called unfinished business. When you hear guys who potentially can go pro and make more money than they're probably making in college choose to come back because we've got unfinished business, that tells you they're playing for something. And it's something that means a lot to them enough that they would come back for a whole year of their life. These guys joined the Big Ten. They're 25-1 in Big Ten games before January. Their biggest struggle has obviously been they can't seem to win them in the playoffs. Lost to Ohio State 2 years ago and lost to Indiana last year. But you take all the Big Ten games they've played before January since they joined the conference, they're 25-1. Last year was their only loss regular season Big Ten, and it was to Indiana by 10. They have their entire defensive line back. They have 3 returners in the secondary who were all starters as freshmen last year. And the biggest thing, as you said, they've got Dante Moore back at quarterback running the helm. I think it's the year of the Duck. I think they quack all the way to a Big Ten title. And I think they're the best team in college football this year. And I don't think the tough schedule matters. To the Big 12 we go. Kind of the same question we asked with the SEC. We both kind of said, with Georgia, rinse, repeat. Texas Tech kind of ran roughshod last year, even if on paper it didn't look like roughshod. It felt like roughshod watching the conference. It looked like it was Texas Tech and nobody. You got BYU, Arizona State, Utah, whoever else you want to put, maybe in quad 2. Can anybody in this conference knock on Texas Tech's door, do you think?
I don't think so. And to me, all you got to do is look at the preseason all-conference list, and people expect a ton of Texas Tech players to be on that at the end of the season. And when you have the best roster, you've got a quarterback who at some point is going to come back with experience. I know he got injured early last season, but if you can get past the fiasco that happened all spring long and the drama out of Lubbock, and you get to the football games, I think that you have a lot of people rooting against Tech. But when you still have the best roster and the most money by far in the conference, you're going to win. And I think that's the position they're in, no matter who is under center in 2026.
I think BYU's got a shot if anybody does. But, yeah, I think Texas Tech's just, you're right, they built too good of a program. They got the most money. They can get the most talent right now. The only thing going against them is you're right. I think everybody and their mother that is big in the fandom of Big 12 is rooting against them this year. I think even if they slip up in a game, I don't see them missing the Big 12 championship game, and I don't see them losing it. Not to spoil what we're going to talk about in a little bit, but definitely none of the – I don't know. I mean, there's some other good teams in the Big 12. Biggest thing with Texas Tech, how about this, is can they overcome all the noise? They had a lot of stuff going on, obviously, we talked about in our very first episode a couple months ago with the whole, with the gambling saga with Swordsby. Like, can they get past all of that?
I think so, because I don't think, despite all of everybody talking about things involving Texas Tech, none of them involve current players on the roster. And I think that will actually give them a little more motivation to say, hey, we're not just Brendan Swordsby and the gambling saga. We're not just our blowhard Board of Trustees member. We are a good football team, and we are in the hunt for a national title. I don't think they'll win, but they'll make the playoff. They'll win the conference, and I think they will be out to show everybody and try to punch some people in the mouth once they get on the field.
Almost like they're playing for that reason is, look, we're going to go punch some people early and just shut everybody up about all this mess and show them that we're just here to play football. So I agree.
And they have a huge challenge early. I think their first conference game is against Houston, and Willie Fritz is a doggone good coach. So that they have a little trouble early, but if they get past that, then I think they'll be fine.
Who's overrated in the Big 12 this year?
Utah. I think anytime you change coaches from a long-time successful coach, I don't care if the new guy has been there for 10 years running the defense, there's a lot of change. And I still cannot fathom why the leadership at Utah was trying to push Whittingham out in favor of some guy who has been there a long time but unproven. I know they've had this plan, whatever. But a lot of times these plans just don't work out. James Franklin was the coach in waiting at Maryland. I mean, there's just a lot of odd things.
Which is odd to say now.
Yeah. It's been a long time since anyone uttered the phrase Ralph Friedgen head coach. But anyhow, I just think there's too many changing pieces at Utah. And once you lose, and I think the word culture is very overrated, but once you lose a guy who has been so foundational in what your program has done, not just recently, but as it changed conferences and moved up the ladder, I think you're losing a good part of your heart and soul there. I think it's just going to take a little bit to overcome.
I agree with you on this one. In an era where a lot of schools change coaches, like we changed socks, Utah was one of the ones that really stuck with it. I didn't understand either why they kind of pushed Whittingham out the door. I mean, Utah's always top 25. Will they probably be again this year and rattle off 8-9 wins? Maybe. But this is the first time they've had a new coach since the 2005 season. You remember who Whittingham replaced?
Yeah, Ohio State for the guy.
Urban.
Yeah, Urban Meyer.
This is only the second new coach at Utah since Urban Meyer. That when you've had a guy for that long, and I think for people to automatically just do what they do every year, I think it's just like a reflex, just pencil in Utah as contender. I don't see it this year.
This is through several conferences. We're not talking about the Mountain West.
Mountain West, Pac-12. No matter where they've been, they're penciled in as contenders every year, and they have been since Urban was there. Now, Whittingham did carry that on very well for a lot of those years. But, and step outside the coaching realm, their entire O-line is new this year. So who knows? Who knows when Arkansas goes there on September 12th how that'll go? We won't have a clue till that night. It's only the second game of the year. They have to go to Ohio State. Okay, who knows how they'll be? No more Matt Campbell. They could be horrible. They go to Colorado to primetime world. Who the heck knows how they'll be this year? But then the late part of their schedule, they have to play Houston. Granted, it's at home. And they get the Holy War at home this year. Again, that really don't matter where that game's played at. It's a tough game no matter what. Then they go to Arizona and to TCU in back-to-back weeks in November. Who knows how that'll go? This team could very easily finish 6-6 or 7-5, in my opinion. And I think that putting them at the top of the conference is just a little bit much. Who is a surprise contender in the Big 12?
Baylor. I think that Baylor has the schedule to kind of do some things. I think they're underrated. They did fine offensively where they struggled was defense. And I think that Aranda can kind of fix some of that. You've got DJ Lagway coming over to run the offense for Baylor. Coming from
It's a good
Florida.
pickup for them.
Great pickup. I think the offense will continue to hum. The defense will get a little bit better. The schedule is manageable. If they can beat Auburn in week 2, then I think that they are set for a good season. But a lot of their schedule is chaos because, I mean, opening conference game against Colorado, I have no idea what's going on with Coach Prime right now.
No clue how that'll go.
Yeah. I mean, they go to Arizona State, that'll be tough. But TCU is at home. Kansas, yeah. At UCF, yeah. At Iowa State now. There's a lot of these teams, other than Texas Tech, BYU, and Houston to end the season. That can be really tough. But when I'm talking about a surprise team in Baylor, I'm not talking about conference championship. I'm talking about a return to a 7-8 win season of bowl eligibility and back on the upswing again.
Yeah, my pick's the same thing. I was just thinking that I don't think mine can win the conference, but I'm with you. I think that no one's talking about them, and they could have a very good year. And that's Kansas State. Colin Klein, again, we talked about it with Nathan Brown earlier at UCA. You would love to assume, and you would hope, if your head coach is an alum, that coaching that program just means more to them. And Colin Klein is one of the, if not the best quarterback to ever play at Kansas State. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist. He's young, and I think, young man out of Arizona State head coaching has proven that you can be a young head coach and have success, especially in a conference like the Big 12. He's got Avery Johnson back at quarterback. Now, he has been as hit and miss as the day is long. But Klein recruited him when Klein was here as the offensive coordinator. So it's a full circle thing for those two guys. Had 26 touchdowns last season total, passed for almost 2,400 yards. Their top rusher from last year, Joe Jackson, is back. Their team leader in catches is back. They have Jordan Peterson coming in, taking over the defense, who was previously at last year at Texas A&M, who won 11 games. So big pickup for their defense. They got one of the top edge rushers out of the portal from Oklahoma State. And their schedule's not awful. They have two home games that are huge question marks in September. They have Wazoo coming in, followed the next week by Tulane. Who the heck? That's, again, like Colorado. Who the heck knows how those will go? They're both at home, though. They get Houston at home. They have to go to Arizona State. Now, they do finish the year at TCU, home against Arizona, and at Iowa State. I think their ceiling is 9-3, which would be crazy good for a team that literally nobody's talking about because it's just assumed that they're going to be middle of the pack, 6-6, 5-7. I think this team could win 8 or 9 games. I'm like you. Do I think they'll contend for a conference title? No. But I think they'll get back to good, solid Bill Snyder winning ways in his first year. Do you have any? We're just going to put that up there. Do you want to have anything to add? We kind of talked about this a minute ago, but Texas Tech conference champions.
Yeah, we're going to win. Yeah.
Yeah. It ain't broke, don't fix it. Like I said, BYU is their toughest opponent, not even on their regular season schedule. So if they meet them, it's in conference finals. Houston at home, Arizona State at home, Arizona at home. Toughest road game is Oklahoma State. It's an easy schedule. I think they can run.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State's going to be better now. They're
too.
having the chaos with Mike.
I do too. I like to see a lot of people have Oklahoma State preseason top 25.
Yeah. He's turned it around everywhere he's been, so expect that to happen pretty quickly in Stillwater.
Yeah. And to me, whoever's the quarterback, I don't think it matters because I think the core around the quarterback is too talented for Texas Tech to not win the conference. Last Power 4 conference is ACC. Has the Miami dynasty officially begun?
I believe so. I think that Miami is in the greatest location. If you're wanting to play college football, there's money, there's fun, there's all the kinds of things. You can build, you're in a great area to recruit from. So I think that in the ACC, Miami is going to reign supreme. I think the Clemson semi-dynasty is over. I don't know that there's anybody who can really catch up to what Miami is building. And, give Coach a lot of credit. He left a great job at Oregon.
People were shocked
To go back home to Miami and try to get that turnaround. So you like to see that kind of success, and he's done that. And they are built, the way they build the team, and he's an offensive line coach, from his days, back in Alabama, and, they are built very well in the trenches, and as you saw in the playoffs last year, was Carson Beck the greatest quarterback? No, but he was serviceable. But when you can dominate up front and protect and run the ball and do those kind of things, you don't have to have the greatest signal caller. Now that they're, made the championship game, I think they're only going to get better. And I think that, for people who are wanting the U to be back, I think the U is back.
I agree. I think the U is back. Now I could use a little less Michael Irvin on my sideline on all fours, going crazy as a 60-something-year-old man, but I don't think, and I'm not someone like a lot of people who just can't stand Dabo Swinney. A lot of people don't like the guy at all, but I don't think that Clemson's ever getting back to where they were under Dabo. He's had the hardest time adjusting to all this NIL stuff and transfer portal stuff. I think that I'm with you. I think that Miami, classic, good Miami, and I've heard a lot of the talking heads on big shows say this, and I agree. College football's better when Miami's good. It just is. If you can remember the 90s, 80s, 90s, even into the early 2000s when Miami's good, college football is just more fun when the U is good. Overrated team in the ACC for you?
Dabo Swinney. I just think that the era of Clemson is over. They don't do themselves any favors by starting out in Baton Rouge against LSU. I think they'll, kind of bounce back the next couple weeks with Georgia Southern and North Carolina. But then you've got to go to Cal, who I think is kind of sleepy good. They were able to keep their quarterback out of the transfer portal.
Or his defensive coordinator.
Yes, Tosh Lupoy, if I can pronounce his name correctly. He's there. He had some experience at Alabama. He's been some places. He's seen some things, and I think that Cal is lucky to have him. Although I really did like Jonathan Wilcox, their previous coach too. For whatever reason, Cal and Stanford had this weird power dynamic where they brought in people to be GMs who weren't, with Andrew Luck at Stanford, Ron Rivera at Cal. Whatever, they can do things how they want to. They're in the ACC, so. But yeah, I think things kind of get tricky there when Clemson goes to Cal, comes back, Miami at home. I just don't. There's not a great stretch where you say, okay, Clemson is going to rack up a ton of wins here, and I think they'll be meddling. Maybe they'll win something like 8 games, but I think overrated in the term that we're not talking about a 10 or 11 win season for Clemson. We're not talking about Clemson in the playoffs, no matter how much people are like that era of good old Dabo, golly geez, 1950s wholesome act or whatever. And I'm not even saying it's a fake act. I'm just saying that's the way he comes across. I just think that era is over. He did not adapt well to the new era of college football, and I think it is catching up. And so Clemson, after winning, 6 games last year, I think is a 6 to 8 win team this year. And if things go south, maybe worse. So Clemson is overrated.
I had a hard time with this one because I don't think anybody is overrated in this conference. In a sense of when you look at preseason predictions, I think everybody is placed properly. And even Clemson. I never saw Clemson anywhere higher than 3rd, and I've seen them as low as 5th. I think that's exactly where they're going to be. So I want to preface mine by saying I don't think this team is overrated. Are they a little overhyped for this year? Maybe. And it's so hard for me to do this because this was my favorite hire for a coach out of the whole country. But I had to go Virginia Tech. I think when we talked about this hire, James Franklin of Virginia Tech is going to be a success story. I think it is a long-haul success. And they could have a great year this year. I've seen them predicted as high as, heck, maybe even some people saying as high as 2nd. And I think that's just the James Franklin effect. I don't think anybody in this conference overrated. Maybe they're a little overhyped. I'm worried about the middle of their schedule. They have a 3-week stretch, 3 games in 4 weeks with a bye on Halloween. But they get Georgia Tech at home, then they go to Clemson, and they go to SMU. And then on November 20th, they have to play at Miami. Plus, they end their season with Virginia. Could this team go 9-3? Very much so. Could this team be, right up there with Louisville and SMU? Very much so. However, this team, I'm afraid, can also maybe go 6-6. So I'm a little worried that everybody has just seen James Franklin walk in the door and automatically just put Virginia Tech into the competing tier of the conference. And I'm a little worried that we've pulled the trigger just a tiny bit too quick. I love the hire. It's still my favorite hire of all of them. And I think it's going to be a success. But man, I'm cautiously optimistic, so I'm a little worried that we've jumped the gun a little bit. Surprise contender. I have questions. You're going to have to
explain this.
You're going to have to explain this one to me because I don't exactly sit around and study this team. So
Syracuse. I think Fran Brown had a phenomenal first year at Syracuse. They were 3-1 last year when quarterback Steve Angeli got hurt, and that just sent them into a tumble. They weren't able to recover, finish the season, I think, 4-8. So I think with Angeli back, a solid group of transfers in at wide receiver, I think that is going in a spectacular offense. I think that is going to propel Syracuse back to a surprise contender. Do I think they're going to win the ACC? No. But I think they have a strong chance to contend. What does that mean? I mean, I think they're probably at least an 8-win team. I was trying to pull up their schedule here after I clicked off of it. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people will say, I'm high on Syracuse this year.
yeah, I read that and
But yeah.
I wanted to just kind of look it up, but then I thought, no, I'm just going to wait and hear.
Yeah, but
Here's the reasoning. I just don't know really anything about them. So
I was kind of poking around the ACC, and I knew they had success 2 years ago and the last year when Angeli got hurt. But this year, they're not even putting all their eggs in the same basket. They've got Amari Brown, a transfer who had great success last year at Kennesaw State. So if Angeli is not able to live up to what he has previously done before his injury, I mean, Amari Brown, I saw him, I said not in person, but play against A-State, and the dude is real. He's legit. I mean, the only thing that really worries me about Pittsburgh's schedule, and I don't know if it really worries me, I mean, they've got a 3-game stretch at Pitt, at UConn, at Virginia. I mean, UConn's still UConn. They're better, but they are under a first-year coach. Virginia has done all right. Pitt, I don't know, Eli Holstein is back. But other than that, North Carolina, there's nobody on their schedule that just knocks the socks off me, other than at the last game of the season when they host Notre Dame. So I'm expecting Syracuse to be better, to challenge against some of the better teams, to win at least 8 games. Probably not win the conference. Don't think that's in the cards. But I think if you can go from 4 to 8 wins, I think that's a spectacular move there for Syracuse.
and if they do, then that's a very good take, and that'll be the one at the end of the year I point back at, like, holy cow, look what you actually correctly predicted. That's one you haven't heard much of. Mine is not exactly much of a stretch, but I want to explain. Louisville's predicted to be a very good team. They're starting the season in the top 25, so why are they considered a surprise? In a conference, to me, that is a one-team conference, I think if anybody else were to win, it's a surprise. That's my only reasoning behind it. Nobody else, to me, is going to contend. So if I have to pick somebody to be a surprise contender, I'm going Louisville. They don't have to play Miami during the regular season. SMU might compete. They've been to a playoff, but they get them at home early in the year. And as you said earlier, you think that they'll beat Ole Miss week 1. They go to Georgia Tech in early November, but that's probably their only tough game after they play SMU at the end of September. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think that when they play Miami, we could be looking at 2 12-0 teams at the ceiling. I don't think Louisville has a hard schedule at all. If they can beat Ole Miss, like you said, beat Georgia Tech, and beat SMU, the rest of their schedule is a cakewalk. But again, it's a one-team conference to me, so anybody else is a surprise if they can contend, which is why, even though it seems like I went no far-fetched at all with picking Louisville as a surprise, that's my reasoning. Like, I just don't think anybody else is going to compete. And Jeff Brom is one of the most underrated coaches in college football.
He's a great coach.
A fantastic coach. anybody.
He win at Purdue.
I was just going to say, if anybody can take Purdue to that kind of success, which for Purdue is success, you're a great coach, and he's already done well at Louisville. I think we both agree. Champions this year in the ACC.
Yeah.
The U is back.
U is back.
Unlike Texas. Yeah. I mean, strong wide receiver play. Backfield is great. Defense is solid.
There's not many holes.
There's not a lot of holes, and I think Cristobal has got the team and the fans bought in. After being a team that when they made it in over others last year, everyone wanted to cry foul, and then they made it all the way to the national title game. Everybody went, all right, they're not bad, and gave Indiana all they wanted. I mean, this team nearly won the national championship last year.
They did, and what they did to start the playoffs, you go on the road to College Station and just completely shut them down. It was not a pretty game by no means, but it just shows that you don't have to score 100 points. They are going to shut you down. It doesn't matter who you are, and they just play the line of scrimmage game. It's their game, and they do it well.
And let's be honest, if you've looked at, we have only years that have said cakewalk for any team. If you've not seen a cakewalk schedule, it's this team right there. They have one tough game. They play Notre Dame in early November. That's it. Everything.
You can lose to Notre Dame
and still make it. Oh,
yeah.
100%. Pac-12 is back. Ish. 8 teams, all ending in the word state. Have you noticed that? 8 teams: Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Oregon State, San Diego State, Texas State, makes no sense, Utah State, and Washington State. Can any of those 4 compete, you think, with Power 4 teams?
I mean, there's always a shot with Boise. I think there's been too much turmoil lately at both Oregon State and Washington State. Washington State coaches now in Iowa State. I don't know that anybody else among those 8 schools can contend, and I think Boise, having the playoff experience, having the what they did, what was it, 2 years ago in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and just in that reign. And Boise has always been a solid program, and I think that continues. They are the best of the new Pac State Conference or whatever.
That logo is tough. I love that logo. That is, if anything, if they don't have anything else going for them, I think they nailed it with that logo. I don't know why, but it's very clean and it's very good. We didn't go too far with this conference, but it's new, so kind of not to hone in on it a little bit. Who's your champion this year in the newly reformed Pac-12?
Boise.
Yeah. I'm with you. Same. I mean, Maddox Madsen's a great quarterback. They have a 1,000-yard rusher coming back in Dylan Riley. Half of their defensive starters are back. I mean, not a powerful conference anyway, so they should not lose a conference game all year. And it'll tell you in a nutshell just how good they actually are. They go to Oregon week 1.
Yeah.
But this conference, to me, first year, only 8 schools and the other ones in it. I don't think they can compete with Boise. So,
No, I don't see anybody on that list that scares me.
the rest of the mid-majors, and technically this is still, once upon a time, there was the big conferences were called the Power 5. But Pac-12 is still considered now a group of 6. The rest of them in the mid-majors here, all the new coaches, mostly in the SEC, but then, you got Morris too. A lot of those coaches in the American are now gone. So will Tulane, North Texas, and those schools be as good? So what is that American Conference now that all of those coaches are gone?
I think there is a power gap, and we'll see here in a minute who I think that power gap beneficiary is. But I think some teams will rise up. I think Navy will have a good year. I think UTSA will have a good year. I think a lot of those other teams are just unknown. I mean, I think Charles Huff will do a fantastic job at Memphis. I'm envious of North Texas hiring Neil Brown, who was always the coach that I wanted to hire, but went somewhere. So
You can still do that.
yeah, well, I don't think Neil Brown can leave Denton to come to Jonesboro now. But still,
If he doesn't have success, maybe.
if he doesn't have success in North Texas, I don't know. But
Touche.
I think there are some people who have some chances to do well, but North Texas just lost everybody and their brother to go to Stillwater. Memphis lost a lot of folks coming to Arkansas. Tulane, I don't know, but lost as many people going to Florida. But I am not sold on Will Hall as a new coach. He was fired from Southern Miss as their head coach. This is his second stint on the staff at Tulane. Both times as offensive coordinator. But I think they could have shot and done higher if you're Tulane.
I think their fans were really let down by that hire. I think it was, and I think
he was terrible at Southern Miss.
Yes, and I think that you're right. I think Tulane had built themselves up enough and had enough clout that I think their fans hope for a little more.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a guy who, yes, how do you struggle the way you did at Southern Miss and almost land a step up job?
Oh, a step up by far.
How did the math ain't mathing to me?
It makes no sense other than he's been on the staff there twice, and they really went after Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator, who decided to stay there amid the coaching change, and then it's almost like they had no plan B other than Will Hall. It's like, well, they were really set on Blake Baker, and then after that did not happen. It's like, well, what do we do now? And it was almost, I don't know, it probably wasn't, but I know Will Hall was probably under contention. But ending up with Will Hall, I think, is part of the problem. I think you see a lot of fallback there with Tulane. I think Memphis has a good season. Charles Huff brought some folks with him. They did all right in his 1 year at Southern Miss. But I'd really, really, really high on Navy. They are my lock to. They had a great couple of seasons. I know they've got a change in quarterback this year, but they've got some time to kind of get him going open with Towson. I don't think there's, if Navy can operate through their early season schedule, they've got 3 road games, one of which is between the bye. They go to FAU. They've not been great. UAB has not been great, but Air Force, that's always a rivalry game. I know it's not Army-Navy, but it's still the military rivalry. So they finally get some home games. Their biggest tests will be against Notre Dame on Halloween. That game is being played in Boston, however. It's going to be in the Patriots Stadium. So I think that Navy can kind of, with so much continuity and all that they bring back, what they do with their offense, oh my gosh, if there are people, and gosh, I did not write his name down. Tim, the offensive coordinator at Navy. Previous head coach, Drew Cronick. Gosh, there is no more fun offense that you can watch in college football than Drew Cronick with all that stuff that he does with option-ish plays, out of the shotgun. They do a lot of different things and can win a lot of different ways. This is not the old Paul Johnson, the 80 teams where you're going to line up in the flex and you're going to triple option somebody the entire game. They may do that the entire game. Mm-hmm. They may be in shotgun the entire game. It's a big mix. So I am really sold on what Drew Cronick does. He has had great success, before that at the Division II level. Mercer as a head coach as well before that. And I think that Navy will roll in the American this year.
I'm excited. One team I'm excited to see is we have watched North Dakota State run their way through the FCS, and they have finally joined the FBS ranks. I'm excited to see if they can keep winning, and I think they will. I think they find themselves in a good spot to come in and, maybe be one of the most successful first-year FBS teams that we've seen. Because we've seen them plenty in the past as an FCS team beat FBS teams with, not much issue. So I'm really looking forward to watching North Dakota State this year. And you tell me, how in the world the MAC was one of the last few conferences that was so geographically sound, and they went and let Sacramento State into their conference?
It's just a silly reaction of Northern Illinois going to the Mountain West as a football-only school. They had to get somebody. Sacramento State was practically begging everybody and their brother to try to move up to the FBS, and the MAC bits. I think it's a bad marriage. I don't think it works for anybody. You've got the best geographically centered conference in the country, and then you bring in Sacramento State. I think they could have done better. Frankly, there was a lot of rumors there for a little while that, and this was back before the last thing happened with Sacramento State, that they were talking to both Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee State about coming in. That would have been a big get for the MAC.
Yeah.
You know, Bowling Green, Kentucky is not terribly far from a lot of those schools in Southern Ohio and Indiana. So you go from that, the possibility of that, to ending up with Sacramento State. I just think it's a bad marriage, and if you're the MAC, it's just, I guess you thought you had to get somebody, but why be so impatient that you're, you know, your conference has been so cohesive for so long, and even when you expanded, you know, you got Northern Illinois, you got Buffalo, just in that same geographic area, but now it just doesn't make any sense, and that's a lot of dang travel for Sacramento State.
Group of 6 will still send a team to the college football playoff. Who might make it from these conferences that would be a surprise to a lot of people?
You know, I think they're. Oh yeah, I had why. That's the thing about this question. But Hawaii, they were able to keep their quarterback, and that was a big reason that I put Hawaii. The Mountain West, I think, did not keep a lot of the best teams from the
Reshuffle.
the reshuffle out west. People went to the Pac-12, but you still got UNLV. You still have Hawaii. Tommy Chen has that offense humming. He was the quarterback there back when they were playing in the Sugar Bowl, you know, almost 20 years ago, and has done a phenomenal job as head coach. And they were able to keep their all-world quarterback. I think the offense has got to continue to hum. I think that Hawaii has a chance. I'm not sure they will. But if you're looking for a surprise contender based on the geography and someone who could have a manageable schedule, I think Hawaii could surprise.
I've heard that from more than one person, so I think that could very well happen. I'm going to go UNLV. Readjusted the conferences. I mean, Dan Mullen is their coach. I think he's a good coach. I thought he was a good coach when he was at Mississippi State. Thought he was a fine coach at Florida, even though they didn't agree. New Mexico has a chance to make some noise too, I guess, in Mountain West.
I love their coach.
Yeah, they have a great coach.
Jason Heck is phenomenal.
But they play on November 14th. If UNLV beats New Mexico in November, then I think they're in good spot to compete. If they can win the rest of their games, as they probably should. Jeldon Thomas had a big season last year running back, and he's back. He can do even more. If Boise flounders at some point in their season, even though they have a pretty simple schedule, because obviously if you go to Oregon and lose, ain't nobody going to hold that one against you. If they drop the ball on a San Diego State or a Fresno State or something like that in their new conference, that could open the door for UNLV, I think, to slip in. And like I said, if they can, especially if they can get by New Mexico, who may be sitting in about the same spot they are by mid-November, then look out for UNLV. Which Group of 6 team, to you, is making the college football playoffs this year?
Navy. I am just a big believer in what Navy does. I've talked just a few minutes ago about what Tim Cronic does with their offense. It's so multiple. They can do a lot of things to beat a lot of people. Their head coach is a former defensive coordinator, and just does a great job there. And I think because there's been so much turmoil and trouble, not in a bad way, but just with coaches leaving the American, I think that leaves the door open for Navy. Other than Notre Dame, they don't have any kind of heavyweights on the schedule, so you could even slip up once in the American. But I think, you know, Navy going 11-1 is not out of the realm of possibility. I think Boise has too many potential minds on the schedule, if you will, that I think Navy will be the college football team or the playoff team from the group of whatever they are now. I can't remember with the Pac if they're 6 or 7. Whatever the group of conferences.
I picked Navy last year for the spot, and they didn't make it, and they let me down, so I'm not going back to them. I'm sticking with Old Faithful and going Boise. kind of one of those rinse repeat. If it ain't broke, don't fix it things. To me, easy schedule, easy conference. I think they go 11-1, only a loss to Oregon. To me, UNLV is their biggest competition because I'm not sure how well Navy can stand out above anybody else in the American. I think it's wide open. So to me, this one is not hard, and I think it's Boise by a mile. We have got just a few more things we're going to talk about. We're going to take our final set of commercial breaks, and we will.
At some point, do we need to announce the winner, or is that after the break?
We will. I believe we'll do that after the break. So we'll do talk about who we think is going to take home the Heisman Trophy, and then we're going to talk about who we think will win national championship.
I meant the contest winner.
Yeah, after the break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The gift certificate.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought when you talk about next,
No, you're good.
we'll be back.
We'll be back in just a moment with more Lake Area takes here on Lake Area Sports. Stay with us.
Discover Little Red at Indian Hills, where good food, great views, and Arkansas hospitality come together in Fairfield Bay. Enjoy lunch or dinner with comfortable indoor seating, a relaxing outdoor patio, and barbecue available Thursday through Saturday. From golfers fresh off the course to locals and visitors alike, Little Red is the place to gather, eat well, and unwind. Little Red at Indian Hills. Good food, great views, and a Fairfield Bay favorite.
Looking for farm fresh beef for your family? Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company has you covered. Choose from a whole, half, or quarter beef, or purchase individual packaged cuts. Our cattle are locally raised, and your beef is processed at a trusted local facility for quality you can taste. Best of all, your order is picked up and hand-delivered locally right to your door by Eddie Whitehurst. Call Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company today and put farm-raised beef on your family's table.
Ready for your next beach getaway? Discover the perfect vacation with Willock Condo Rentals. Enjoy beautiful beachfront condos in Navarre Beach and Panama City Beach, Florida. When you book directly with the owner, you'll pay no service fees, saving more money for fun in the sun. For over 15 years, Willock Condo Rentals has helped families create unforgettable beach memories with comfortable accommodations and breathtaking Gulf views. Start planning your next vacation today. Contact Willock Condo Rentals and experience the beach the way it was meant to be. Hungry? We've got you covered. Welcome to Bentley's Restaurant, Greer's Ferry's largest restaurant. Join us for breakfast and lunch every Tuesday and Wednesday, then come back Thursday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From homemade omelets and our Saturday breakfast buffet to fresh salads, daily lunch specials, and hand-cut ribeyes cut as big as you want them, there's something for everyone. Friday and Saturday nights are legendary with our seafood buffet featuring jumbo peel and eat shrimp, catfish, crawfish, and all your favorites. Plus, don't miss our delicious prime rib on Saturday nights and our crab leg dinner every Friday and Saturday. Whether you're joining us for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you'll always find great food, generous portions, and friendly service. Bentley's Restaurant in Greer's Ferry. Come hungry, bring your friends, and make every meal one to remember.
Are you a sports card collector? Then make your next stop Stan's Sports Cards in Greenbrier. Whether you're chasing vintage legends or today's hottest rookies, Stan's Sports Cards has something for every sports fan. Browse an incredible selection of sports cards, jerseys, memorabilia, and collectibles from your favorite teams and players. Looking to sell? Stan's Sports Cards is actively buying vintage and modern sports cards. Turn those cards sitting in a box into cash today. Visit Stan's Sports Cards at 26 South Broadview, Highway 65, in Greenbrier, open Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I'm back here on Lake Area Sports, and we were just talking before the break about our $25 gift certificate to Little Red Restaurant that we give out every week. And we do have a winner from last week, and you checked on the name during the break. Do you remember?
Pam Davis.
Pam Davis. Congratulations to Pam Davis for winning $25 to Little Red. You will be, someone will be contacting you from Lake Area Sports to figure out how to get you your winnings. And we don't have a guest this week, so I guess that means that it's up to us to figure out what the word of the week will be for a chance to win this week. You have anything particular?
I think that's got to be pretty easy. Football.
Football. I agree. I was thinking football or touchdown or something. Let's just do football. Football is back on all levels, college, high school, pros eventually. So football. Leave the word football in the comments for a chance to win $25 to Little Red. We'll announce the winner next week. Word of the week, secret word, code word, whatever you want to call it, football. Leave that in the comments for a chance to win $25 to Little Red Restaurant in Fairfield Bay. Final couple things we're going to talk about here. Let's just best teams, best players. Heisman Trophy given to the best player every year. It is not a quarterback award, even a lot of people think it is. Although we both did go with quarterbacks. So, your Heisman Trophy winner, best player this year, who you got?
Dante Moore at Oregon. I think that Oregon's going to have the best season. I think they're going to win the championship. Don't listen to that. They're going to have a great season. He's going to put up numbers. He is a solid quarterback. He's got success. He's been through the fire, and I think that'll lead him to holding the big trophy in New York City.
We don't disagree here. Copy and paste. Man, he's got a stat-friendly arm. And he passed on the NFL. This guy could have gotten drafted easily first round, played quarterback in the NFL, but he chose to stick around. As we said, a lot of the team did for what they call unfinished business.
Not just first round, but a lot of people thought he would have been the first quarterback drafted.
100% could have been first quarterback taken. And the coaches and the scouts have all said that, I mean, believe it or not, he's made strides. So when you've got a guy this talented who can get better, weirdly enough, man, the odds for this guy winning Heisman, he's not even favored. And I don't get it. I don't understand. And some don't even have him first, second, or even third, and I don't understand. But not Arch. I mean, Arch Manning's a good player. Trinidad Shameless is good. Julian Sayin from Ohio State is good. CJ Carr is going to be good for Notre Dame. But
I think anybody, if there's anybody that's got a challenge, it's going to be CJ Carr, because I think Notre Dame will also have a phenomenal season too. And he has done very well. He's got a ton of experience, and Arch he'll be fine. But how much of his help is there? I don't know enough to put up flashy numbers. Trinidad Chambliss, I think Ole Miss will struggle, and even though he might put up video game numbers, it's not going to be enough. So that's just my thoughts.
They've given Heisman to plenty of players who have not been on championship contending teams. I don't think that's the case this year. I think Oregon's got a chance to go far. And I think this guy's the best player in football. And like I said, this roster and the way that they play in Oregon is so stat friendly. I think you look on paper, this guy's numbers are going to be insane. This one I'm kind of excited about. We both decided we all have our own opinions on things that's going to happen this year, but everybody usually always has one thing that they're like, I really think this is going to happen, and it might be a stretch to a lot of people. So this is each of ours boldest take, just the one most bold take that we have for this year. I'm going to start with you and yours. What is your one bold take for college football 2026?
Illinois will make the college football playoff.
Hey, you said 10-2, Fat Bert 10-2 Illinois, and you think they're
Bert is bringing it to the table and not just to eat. He's going to win some football games, and it's just going to be a phenomenal year. They've really only got those two terribly tough teams. I think 10-2 in the Big Ten. They might even sneak in at 9-3. I don't know. Depends on how the cookie crumbles everywhere, but there's a chance they could. But 10-2, Illinois, put them in, book it, go to Vegas. Just don't blame me if it doesn't happen.
I think that, if your only two losses are Ohio State and Oregon, and they're close, and you run the table, you've got a good shot at getting in. Heck, this might happen. But I still think it's bold. But this could happen. I don't think you're far-fetched in saying this. Yeah, if you go to Vegas, then hopefully you win something on that.
I'll just say like the one lady who wrote that song, I'm a believer.
I'm a believer. Fat Bert we'll talk about Fat Bert about this year. I'm going not one team in particular. You're not supposed to say stuff like this when you're in the South and your favorite team is in the conference. I don't think the SEC is going to win a championship again this year. Big Ten's won 3 years in a row. I don't think the SEC will have a team in the semifinals. ever since the football playoff has been a thing in 2014, in the final 4 teams, there has always been at least one SEC school. And I think that ends this year. I think there's too much other talent in other conferences between the Big Ten, between Notre Dame, Miami. I just don't see it happening. If anybody's going to make the Final Four, to me, it's Georgia. Would I be shocked if they didn't? No. My Final Four, not to give away anything in the next segment, but I'm saying this because I think it's going to be Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, and Miami. I think that those 4 make more sense as far as the talent they have this year. After Georgia, the SEC, it's not really a crapshoot because the teams are good, but I don't think anybody really knows would it be LSU? Could it be Bama? Could it be A&M? Could it be Ole Miss? Like, heck, I've said Tennessee can go 10-2. What do I know? Like, I don't think anybody knows after Georgia. If Georgia doesn't make semifinals, for sure, SEC will have 0 teams. And I'm not going to be shocked if the SEC doesn't have 0 teams. And if I go a step further, they may only have 2 in the final 8. I think that's possible. I think there's too many other good teams this year in college football outside the SEC that I think that there's a potential that there are no SEC teams in the semifinal for the first time.
Yeah, I think that's a mild take. Just because of what we saw last season, I don't know that there's a terribly hot take because, Georgia's got some talent back, but I don't think they're a lock by any means. They struggled last year in the playoffs. They lost to Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss, can they put the Magic together? I don't think so. Texas, could they? Yeah, maybe. I don't have a great feeling about them. But even just taking all the SEC out of the consideration, other teams and other conferences have gotten better.
Yes.
The over-the-table money has equalized a lot of what was happening in the under-the-table money in the McDonald's cash bag era, So and then these big schools in the Big Ten, your Indianas, your Michigans, your Ohio States, who have been there for a long, long time and have huge alumni bases. Well, that kind of equals out. It's like, well, if I can go south and go to the NFL and play in great weather and all this kind of stuff, well, if you're getting paid, do you really care as much about the weather and the facilities? Not that these teams have bad facilities or anything. So I think that's kind of equalized them. And then you got the guy in Miami and Cristobal. And so you can win in different places now where it was not as easy to just a few years ago, where you'd say if you're in Alabama, Nick Saban, you are stockpiling 3D at every position. You cannot do that now in this era. And so talent kind of spreads out, and that means more people have an opportunity to compete and not just in one conference.
I think the only reason I considered this bold, you're right. I mean, last year proved that the SEC is maybe squeaking in, if you want to even go that far. I only think it's considered bold because we've never had a Final Four in the playoff with no SEC school, at least one. So I think this will be the first year it happens. And now we get to the grand finale, the big moment here. And we did not, we don't know how the bracket's going to fall or who's going to do what. 5 conference champions will make it. SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12 will send theirs, plus 1 conference champion, highest ranked from the group of 6. So we just put, I think they're up there in like alphabetical order, but there's 12 teams that we think will make it, and then the only predicting we did was who will be in the championship game. So, John, your 12. You've got BYU, Georgia, Indiana, Fat Burton, Illinois, LSU, Miami, Navy, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Texas Tech. It's a solid field.
Yeah, just looking at the different conferences, I think the Big Ten is good enough. You're going to have 4 in because, the monsters at Ohio State, Indiana, what Oregon have become, I think they get a 4th team in Illinois. I think the SEC will kind of beat up on each other at some point. I think that while the SEC is the deepest conference, the Big Ten is the best in the top, has the most top. It's top heavy.
Top heavy.
The best teams are in the Big Ten.
You've still got 30 SEC schools in there too, though. So.
Yeah. So I think, Georgia will get in. Texas and LSU, I think that LSU has too much experience. They've got big bags of cash. The Tigers want to win. And I think Lane Kiffin, while I'm mixed on how good of a long-term fit that is. I don't know that anyone is a long-term fit with Lane Kiffin, and who is a long-term fit in college football as it is right now. Who knows? So
We did talk about this with Lane Kiffin, though. Every job he leaves, it's kind of for something else. Where do you go from LSU? Bama? That it?
they may be looking sooner than later. I mean, if Kalen DeBoer is not in this field, how long can he last not making the playoffs?
Yet another school in the SEC that Kiffin could potentially royally anger.
So there you go. But yeah,
I
think
like this group, though.
Yeah, Notre Dame, I think, is phenomenal. I think they probably should have been in the playoffs last year, but it just, you can't lose 2 games like that.
Yeah.
But I think they were one of the best 12 teams in the country. We talked about Miami. BYU, I think, will challenge Texas Tech, probably not successfully. But I think they've got a good, if not a better shot than anybody. I think they won a ton of games, and so for that reason, I think they will be in the playoffs. They'll have 2 from the Big 12. That is my prediction. And then I think we talked about everybody else.
Championship game.
Oregon and Notre Dame.
Okay.
And the Fighting Ducks will beat the Our Lady of the Lakes from Fond du Lac, and it will be a close game and fun.
Year of the Duck.
Quack, quack.
Quack. Heisman winner and national championship for John. I like that. We'll just see here. I differ a little more than I thought I would. I think BYU gets into, earlier I said Boise would be my group of 16 to make it. We both agreed on Georgia and Oregon and Texas Tech and Miami on the 4 schools making it in. I agree with you too. LSU's got too much talent. They got the best portal class. They want to win. They expect to win. I think Kiffin fits them better than Brian Kelly ever did. So I think LSU makes it. And I think LSU can win a game. And I think that if there are 2 teams from the SEC to make the quarterfinals and the final 8, I think it's Georgia and LSU. I do have A&M in. I still think they're a talented team. I think they're the 3rd best team in the SEC. We kind of said after Georgia was kind of up in the air, and it is. But I think LSU and A&M round out the top 3, and I just can't see a world where they don't put 3 SEC schools in the playoff. I agree with you, though. It's very top-heavy. I think the biggest one on here for me.
Yeah, some ponies here.
Yeah, I got SMU down there in the corner. Look, the ACC is so darn weak. And I said I said Louisville will be a surprise contender, but looking over the schedule, I don't think it would be as big a surprise. SMU's already been there once. Their schedule is super simple to me. If their only loss is Miami, that gets them in. If they beat Louisville and they take care of everybody else they're supposed to, I think it's one of those schools where they're going to have this super good record. And you're going to have a lot of the talking heads say, well, who have they really beat? Can you put them in? But then everyone else is going to say, well, hey, they're 11-2. They have losses to Miami in the year and a loss in the ACC championship. But if it's to Miami, who by that point could be 13-0, how do you not put them in? And then the one that I figure you would question the most because you had them overrated is USC.
Yeah.
Their schedule is not easy. I give you that. But to me, this is the best roster that USC has had under, my brain's dead, whatever his name is out there at USC, Lincoln Riley. I think this is the best roster Lincoln Riley has had since he's gotten to USC. I think he's disappointed since they joined the Big Ten by USC standards, and I think he is on short leash. I think that has prompted him to try to build the best roster that he has. I think that several of those tough games that they're going to play, I think they can win them, and I think that if they do, it's one of those where we could be looking at a 9-3 USC team that's in the playoff because of the fact that their losses are to Ohio State, Oregon, but they've beaten in Indiana, or they've beaten Penn State, Michigan. They've beaten some of those won a lot of those games they should win, and maybe only looking at losses to, the best of the best. So that's my 12. I agree with Notre Dame. Schedule's easy. They're going to have a good record, and I think they are one of the best teams. And I'm with you. I think C.J. Carr, outside of Moore, I think he's probably the best in the country at quarterback. And Ohio State, yeah, you can't go wrong with them. I think that outside of Oregon, they're the most talented team in the country. So
Looking at SMU's schedule, I see why you picked up.
It's just
other than at Notre Dame toward the end of the season, they're at Louisville in week 3. I mean, at Florida State, the opening week doesn't really scare me.
that's it. I kept saying if they lose to Miami, if they lose to Notre Dame, that's not going to hurt them, especially if they play it close, and especially if they get past Louisville early, they have a chance to go 11-1.
Yeah, you don't play Miami in the regular season.
No.
Virginia Tech is at home.
Yeah.
You've got Cal at home. I don't see them making any crazy long trips. Boston College and Virginia are both at home. You go to Stanford to end the season, so I guess if you can swing at Notre Dame, at Stanford, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not. They got 7 home games, and if you can beat Florida State, which I think knowing Florida State, how they have fared the last couple of years, and they open it, they'll start Mike Norvell's season off on the hot seat if he wasn't already there.
Yeah, I think he's sitting on a boiling hot one already. I've got Oregon Miami in the championship game. I think that this is one of those years where the championship game will be poetic. Watching Cristobal play for a national championship again, this time against his former team. And on the other side of the coin, you've got Oregon, who has finally held together through the playoff and made the national championship. Most years, when you look at who's got the most talented team, most talented roster, you pick them and never pans out because somebody surprises or the talented team will fall. My gosh, this team's just too good. They're too talented this year. They have too many weapons, too many This is a professional football caliber team. I think this team, could compete against a couple professional teams. Like, they've got so much talent on this roster. And again, say what you want, but as far as, being an athlete, when you bypass going professional, I know these guys are making a lot of money in college, but, these guys are guaranteed multi-millions of dollars in the NFL. And they passed it up to come back for a year to finally finish the job that they've tried to finish for the last few years. I just think they're poised. I think they're ready. I think Dan Lanning is just tired of making it that far and then falling short. And I think this is the year that they get it done. So I agree with you. This is the year of the duck, quack, quack, and all things right in the world in Eugene. So good luck to all the teams this year. And John and I have woefully broke down everything from in-state to out-of-state, all the conferences, and we will definitely have to have a flashback episode early December or something, or a little flashback segment, talk about we'll call it where we were right and where we were wrong.
And we'll see after this first full week exactly. Somebody maybe making comments on our page. So
and please leave them, because Lord knows that
absolutely.
Lord knows some of you may think we're right, some of you may think we're way wrong. I expect a lot of people to think we're way wrong on something.
Probably a lot of things, but you know what? This is a fun kind of show where everyone can have their own opinion, and we welcome yours, even if it's different or wrong.
Or wrong. We are definitely not going to skip over animal takes, and I have a feeling I know what this one's going to be and why you picked it.
It is time to howl as we get ready for the football season. So there's a Red Wolf Sanctuary in Indiana, and that's where we get this week's animal takes.
By the end of it, it started sounding like the trains in Jonesboro coming by, but
That's true.
there you go. There's some Red Wolves for you to get ready for college football season. This time next week, as John alluded, we've been counting down to week 0 FBS and week 1 FBS, but them FCS games, UCA and several others, start next Thursday night. Don't watch those instead of us. Have them both on at the same time.
There's a full slate.
Full slate of FCS games coming up next week.
You got games starting earlier than our show as well. But I mean, you got click over to Maine at Towson, kicking things off. You got Flow Sports and Virginia Lynchburg at Hampton, Stony Brook at Delaware State. I can't even talk now. We've talked so long. There's a lot of games. Look them up.
And if you don't act interested because I don't know who any of these are, then are you really a football fan? Because if you are a football fan, you're just excited to watch. So
We were not on. I'm literally turning on Mercyhurst, Youngstown State, but that's on ESPN Plus or
there you go.
maybe Ohio Dominican or Moorhead, because Ohio Dominican's a great Division III school.
Next week we are still on the football train. We're bringing it back home. High school football will begin at the end of the week next week. A couple teams with some August 28th games. So next week we will preview our 4 Lake area football programs: Quitman, Guy, Rosebud, and Southside. We look to hopefully have interviews with all the coaches from all these schools. Whether we do or not, we will still kind of talk about each of these schools and their upcoming seasons.
Would like to have interviews with all of them. I'll say that.
We would love to have interviews with all the coaches. We've already got a couple of them set down and taken care of, and hopefully we can get the rest as well, so that we can hear it from the mouths of the coaches what they've got this year. And so we're looking forward to bringing you high school football here on Lake Area Sports, and high school volleyball getting set to start too here on Lake Area Sports.
It starts next week as well. We've got some golf. I have not seen results, but I know there has been matches scheduled, but I don't know due to the heat what has happened.
I know that one that there was scheduled for today with some Lake Area schools was canceled for heat, and I know one that was scheduled for Monday or Tuesday where Lake Area schools was also canceled because of heat, which I do not have any fault in for the schools.
Don't blame them at all.
Don't blame them a bit. It is very hot outside. If you haven't already, we don't know why you haven't, but do it. Follow us on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. Look up Lake Area Sports, Lake Area Takes. And next week we hit double digits. We have episode 10, and we hope that you come back and watch our high school football preview show. And at the end of the show, even though we're previewing the high school football games, John and I are going to make some week 0 picks. And we'll do that every week going forward for the football season probably, and keep track of who has a better job this year. But week 0 will be upcoming as well at the end of next week, so we'll make those picks at the end of the episode. But mainly, we're excited to preview our Lake Area's football schools. So thank you so much for watching our college football preview show. We've been excited for this one, and we hope you enjoyed it as well. John Verser, I'm Austin Gray. For all of us at Lake Area Takes and Lake Area Sports, thanks for watching, and we will see you all next week. We'll let our sponsors see us out the door. Y'all have a great rest of your week and a great weekend.
Discover Little Red at Indian Hills, where good food, great views, and Arkansas hospitality come together in Fairfield Bay. Enjoy lunch or dinner with comfortable indoor seating, a relaxing outdoor patio, and barbecue available Thursday through Saturday. From golfers fresh off the course to locals and visitors alike, Little Red is the place to gather, eat well, and unwind. Little Red at Indian Hills. Good food, great views, and a Fairfield Bay favorite.
Looking for farm fresh beef for your family? Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company has you covered. Choose from a whole, half, or a quarter beef, or purchase individual packaged cuts. Our cattle are locally raised, and your beef is processed at a trusted local facility for quality you can taste. Best of all, your order is picked up and hand-delivered locally right to your door by Eddie Whitehurst. Call Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company today and put farm-raised beef on your family's table.
Ready for your next beach getaway? Discover the perfect vacation with Willock Condo Rentals. Enjoy beautiful beachfront condos in Navarre Beach and Panama City Beach, Florida. When you book directly with the owner, you'll pay no service fees, saving more money for fun in the sun. For over 15 years, Willock Condo Rentals has helped families create unforgettable beach memories with comfortable accommodations and breathtaking Gulf views. Start planning your next vacation today. Contact Willock Condo Rentals and experience the beach the way it was meant to be. Hungry? We've got you covered. Welcome to Bentley's Restaurant, Greer's Ferry's largest restaurant. Join us for breakfast and lunch every Tuesday and Wednesday, then come back Thursday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From homemade omelets and our Saturday breakfast buffet to fresh salads, daily lunch specials, and hand-cut ribeyes cut as big as you want them, there's something for everyone. Friday and Saturday nights are legendary with our seafood buffet featuring jumbo peel and eat shrimp, catfish, crawfish, and all your favorites. Plus, don't miss our delicious prime rib on Saturday nights and our crab leg dinner every Friday and Saturday. Whether you're joining us for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you'll always find great food, generous portions, and friendly service. Bentley's Restaurant in Greers Ferry. Come hungry, bring your friends, and make every meal one to remember.
Are you a sports card collector? Then make your next stop Stan's Sports Cards in Greenbrier. Whether you're chasing vintage legends or today's hottest rookies, Stan's Sports Cards has something for every sports fan. Browse an incredible selection of sports cards, jerseys, memorabilia, and collectibles from your favorite teams and players. Looking to sell? Stan's Sports Cards is actively buying vintage and modern sports cards. Turn those cards sitting in a box into cash today. Visit Stan's Sports Cards at 26 South Broadview, Highway 65, in Greenbrier, open Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
The Greers Ferry Lake Card Show is coming to Fairfield Bay, and you don't want to miss it. Come ready to buy, sell, and trade sports cards, Pokemon cards, sports memorabilia, vintage cards, modern stars, collectibles, and more. There's something for every collector. And a huge thanks to our title sponsor, Stan's Sports Cards of Greenbrier. Admission is just $5, and kids 12 and under get in free. It all happens Saturday, October 17th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Fairfield Bay Conference Center. Collectors, bring the family, bring your cards, and come make some deals. Don't miss the Greers Ferry Lake Card Show.
Discover Little Red at Indian Hills, where good food, great views, and Arkansas hospitality come together in Fairfield Bay. Enjoy lunch or dinner with comfortable indoor seating, a relaxing outdoor patio, and barbecue available Thursday through Saturday. From golfers fresh off the course to locals and visitors alike, Little Red is the place to gather, eat well, and unwind. Little Red at Indian Hills. Good food, great views, and a Fairfield Bay favorite.
Looking for farm fresh beef for your family? Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company has you covered. Choose from a whole, half, or a quarter beef, or purchase individual packaged cuts. Our cattle are locally raised, and your beef is processed at a trusted local facility for quality you can taste. Best of all, your order is picked up and hand-delivered locally right to your door by Eddie Whitehurst. Call Blacktop Cowboy Cattle Company today and put farm-raised beef on your family's table.
Ready for your next beach getaway? Discover the perfect vacation with Willock Condo Rentals. Enjoy beautiful beachfront condos in Navarre Beach and Panama City Beach, Florida. When you book directly with the owner, you'll pay no service fees, saving more money for fun in the sun. For over 15 years, Willock Condo Rentals has helped families create unforgettable beach memories with comfortable accommodations and breathtaking Gulf views. Start planning your next vacation today. Contact Willock Condo Rentals and experience the beach the way it was meant to be. Hungry? We've got you covered. Welcome to Bentley's Restaurant, Greers Ferry's largest restaurant. Join us for breakfast and lunch every Tuesday and Wednesday, then come back Thursday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From homemade omelets and our Saturday breakfast buffet to fresh salads, daily lunch specials, and hand-cut ribeyes cut as big as you want them, there's something for everyone. Friday and Saturday nights are legendary with our seafood buffet featuring jumbo peel and eat shrimp, catfish, crawfish, and all your favorites. Plus, don't miss our delicious prime rib on Saturday nights and our crab leg dinner every Friday and Saturday. Whether you're joining us for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you'll always find great food, generous portions, and friendly service. Bentley's Restaurant in Greers Ferry. Come hungry, bring your friends, and make every meal one to remember.
Are you a sports card collector? Then make your next stop Stan's Sports Cards in Greenbrier. Whether you're chasing vintage legends or today's hottest rookies, Stan's Sports Cards has something for every sports fan. Browse an incredible selection of sports cards, jerseys, memorabilia, and collectibles from your favorite teams and players. Looking to sell? Stan's Sports Cards is actively buying vintage and modern sports cards. Turn those cards sitting in a box into cash today. Visit Stan's Sports Cards at 26 South Broadview, Highway 65, in Greenbrier, open Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
It's time for Lake Area Takes. Join